The story begins on a peaceful day in a modern city that suddenly descends into chaos when a massive explosion erupts, sending people running in panic or staring in shock. Then, out of nowhere, a powerful purple humanoid monster appears, who introduces himself as the Vaccine Man and declares that he is the Earth's answer to humanity's pollution and begins destroying the city with powerful energy blasts. The Hero Association, an organization that manages professional heroes, dispatches two heroes named Lightning Max and Smile Man to stop him, but Vaccine Man defeats them with ease as the city, known as City A, burns around him. Amid the ruins, a young girl cries for her parents, and Vaccine Man looms over her, enlarging his hand with a cruel smile, ready to crush her. Just then, a man in a simple yellow jumpsuit and white cape suddenly appears, saving the child at the last possible moment. And he introduces himself as Saitama, a hero for fun. Vaccine Man is angered by this casual response and launches into a speech about his origin, explaining that he is the Earth's natural defense system, a living vaccine created to wipe out humanity, which he sees as a virus polluting the planet. As Vaccine Man talks, Saitama listens with a blank expression, and he suddenly just punches him. The punch is so powerful that it completely obliterates the monster, and the force of the punch is so great it even parts the storm clouds in the sky. Standing in the wreckage, Saitama does not celebrate. Instead, he feels deeply disappointed that yet another powerful enemy was defeated with a single punch, offering him no challenge or excitement. 3 years earlier, Saitama was an ordinary, unemployed man with a full head of hair who felt aimless and could not find a purpose in life. One day, he encountered a monster named Krablin, a man who had mutated into a crab-like creature after eating too much crab. Unlike others, Saitama does not run, so Krablin spares him, remarking on their shared lifeless eyes and saying he's searching for a boy with a big chin who drew nipples on him while he slept. Later, Saitama encounters the same boy in a park, and at first, he tries to walk away, believing it's not his problem. But when Krablin attacks, something inside him shifts, and in a split-second decision, he shields the boy and draws the monster's attention. The creature hurls Saitama across the playground, but Saitama stands again, driven by a sudden memory from his childhood, when he had once dreamed of being a hero, someone who could defeat any villain with a single punch. Revived by that childhood dream, he charges forward and, despite being overpowered, uses his necktie to lasso Krablin's eye stalk, yanks it out, and defeats the monster. That moment changes everything, and he resolves to become the strongest hero, no matter what it takes. Over the next 3 years, Saitama trains relentlessly, and his daily routine becomes brutal and unwavering. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10 kilometers run every single day. The intense training causes all his hair to fall out, but he gains immense strength, and eventually, he reaches a point where he can defeat any opponent with a single punch. But with that power comes a terrible cost, an unshakable sense of emptiness. Back in the present, he wanders the city, lost in thought, and even the sight of destruction no longer excites him. Just then, a massive shadow darkens the streets as a giant humanoid creature, larger than buildings, stomps through the city. On his shoulder sits his older brother, a scientist who created a steroid formula called Biceps King, which turned his younger brother into a colossal monster, and their goal is to take over the world, beginning with City B. As they begin their destruction, Saitama appears silently on the giant's shoulder, so the older brother panics and orders his sibling to squash the intruder. But in a moment of confusion, the giant slaps the wrong shoulder and crushes his own brother. Realizing what he's done, the monster blames Saitama and charges in fury. What follows is a brief scuffle where Saitama stands calmly, and then, in one punch, he sends the massive creature crashing to the ground, leaving a vast crater in the earth and destroying half of City B in the process. Saitama returns to his normal routine, stopping by the market to buy crab for dinner, but the victory does not fill the void. Despite all his strength, the world has not changed. Crime still exists, injustice continues, and within him, there is no sense of accomplishment. Nothing excites him, nothing challenges him. His face remains blank, and his heart untouched. One morning, he wakes up to a violent crash that shakes his home as an alien-like creature bursts into his apartment and tries to grab him. Saitama hurls him outside and is flung into the street, and the ground trembles as more creatures emerge. They are the Subterraneans, mighty underground beings who believe surface dwellers have overpopulated the Earth, and, to reclaim their place, they launch a full-scale invasion, reducing the human population by 70%. Saitama is surprised by their strength and thinks they might be good opponents. He fights many of them, and is about to battle their king when he suddenly wakes up and realizes it was just a dream. But then, a real crash outside snaps him into action. Real subterranean surface, though much smaller and weaker than the dream versions, and their king emerges, ready to strike. But Saitama ends the fight instantly with a single punch, so the invaders retreat immediately, leaving a written apology behind. Once more, the city is safe. Once more, there was no real fight. And once more, Saitama is left alone, a man who has everything he ever wanted, yet nothing that makes him feel alive. A news report warns of a deadly swarm of mosquitoes that has begun ravaging the countryside, and authorities urge all residents to take shelter immediately. The swarm is fast approaching Z City, and panic spreads as people realize this is no ordinary threat. In a quiet apartment in Z City, Saitama steps out onto his balcony with a large elephant-shaped watering can, oblivious to the national emergency, and he casually waters his cactus. One mosquito lands near him and tries to feed on him, so Saitama makes repeated, exaggerated attempts to squash it with lightning-fast blows, but the insect easily dodges every strike. Far from there, a mysterious cyborg hero chases after the mosquito swarm in the city. His name is Genos. Calm and calculating, he targets the swarm's leader, Mosquito Girl, a humanoid insect creature who controls the swarm through sound as she hovers above the city, and her mosquitoes surround livestock and drain them of their blood, transferring all of it back to her. Genos locates her and attempts to incinerate her using a built-in flamethrower. His hand glows red-hot, and flames shoot toward her with destructive force. Mosquito Girl dodges the attack, taunting him mid-air, so Genos quickly deduces that by destroying her, the swarm will collapse. But she retaliates, commanding the insects to attack him directly, and he burns many of them before they can pierce his synthetic body. But the battle becomes more intense. Back in Z City, Saitama continues his battle with the single mosquito in his apartment, and no matter what he does, he cannot kill it. He smacks walls, swings rapidly, and ends up wrecking parts of his own home in frustration. In the fields, Genos and Mosquito Girl exchange blows. She is swift, sharp, and relentless, and during the fight, she rips one of Genos' arms off. He counters by tearing both of her legs off. Damaged but not defeated, Mosquito Girl retreats into the sky, where the rest of her massive swarm has gathered after feeding across the entire region, and as she absorbs all of their collected blood, her body begins to transform. The next instant, she becomes more muscular, her wings grow larger, and her eyes glow with feral power. Genos scans the area for civilians and finds none, so he prepares a massive blast to take her and the entire swarm out in one attack. But before he can release it, Saitama arrives, still focused on the mosquito that continues to pester him, and Genos tries to warn him to leave the area. As Saitama considers leaving, Mosquito Girl fully evolves and lets out a terrifying shriek, now stronger than ever before. Genos unleashes his full-powered blast, engulfing the entire area in flames. The ground cracks, nearby buildings collapse, and clouds of smoke billow into the sky. When the smoke clears, Saitama stands perfectly unharmed in the middle of the ruins, but without clothes, as his body is intact, but his outfit has been entirely blown off, and bits of smoke and a fallen sign conveniently obscure his nudity. Mosquito Girl, having survived the blast, returns stronger than before, and she dives toward Genos with immense speed and power. Her attacks tear into his body, and wounded and cornered, Genos prepares to self-destruct, hoping to destroy her in the process. Just as she prepares her killing strike, a single hand appears. Saitama slaps her casually, and the blow sends her body crashing into a nearby building, splattering her across the concrete, and in an instant, she is dead. Genos lies on the ground, stunned by what he has witnessed, and he asks to become Saitama's disciple. Saitama casually agrees, not entirely understanding what Genos means, but allows the cyborg to follow him. A week passes, and Genos, now repaired, visits Saitama's apartment to officially introduce himself. He explains that he was once an ordinary boy whose family was killed by a rogue cyborg, and a scientist named Dr. Kusino saved him and turned him into a cyborg to give him a second chance at life and help him pursue justice. Since then, Genos has been hunting the rogue cyborg, becoming stronger with every upgrade, and now he seeks to learn from Saitama, whose power surpasses anything he's ever seen. Saitama listens, overwhelmed by the endless details, as Genos' story continues for minutes without pause, delivered in a rapid and monotone voice. Though dramatic and tragic, it becomes exhausting, and Saitama tries to stay polite, but struggles to keep up with the flood of information. Elsewhere, in a dark underground facility known as the House of Evolution, a group of scientists discusses the recent failure of their mosquito girl experiment, and they are stunned that a mysterious individual defeated her with a single punch. Their leader, Dr. Genus, a geneticist obsessed with evolution, decides that this man must be studied, and he orders a retrieval squad to bring Saitama back by any means necessary. Back in Z City, just as Genos finishes his long story, he detects movement nearby, and a massive insectoid creature crashes through Saitama's wall. Without hesitation, Saitama crushes its head in one blow, and Genos leaps outside to find more attackers, but Saitama has already smashed them into the ground. Saitama's moment of peace is interrupted again when one of the creatures grabs him from below and pulls him into the dirt, leaving only his head exposed. Genos prepares to fight, but Saitama insists he's fine, and even says it feels like being buried in warm soil. More creatures arrive. A giant lion-like humanoid named Beast King and a digging monster named Ground Dragon appear, and they identify themselves as creations of the House of Evolution. Their mission is to retrieve Saitama, but their methods are brutal, and Beast King threatens to rip Saitama apart, unaware of the danger he faces. Genos engages another enemy, a powerful android called Armored Gorilla, and they exchange attacks while Saitama yawns beneath the earth. Eventually, Saitama stands, brushing dirt from his clothes, and he gives Beast King a chance to apologize. The monster responds by unleashing his ultimate move, Ultimate Slashing Barrage, but Saitama dodges every blow with ease. Then, with a barrage of ordinary punches, he tears Beast King to shreds. Ground Dragon tries to escape, tunneling underground at high speed, so Saitama follows him into the earth and punches him from below, launching him out like a rocket. Meanwhile, Genos defeats Armored Gorilla, reducing him to a battered heap. The android, terrified after seeing his comrades fall so easily, reveals that among the House of Evolution's elite fighters, he ranks third, and that Beast King was second. He then sees Saitama holding one of Beast King's eyeballs as proof of his demise, and shaken, Armored Gorilla begs for mercy and offers to reveal everything. Meanwhile, all the scientists in the secret lab, who are actually clones of Dr. Genus, panic after their retrieval team is wiped out, while the real Genus remains calm, studying the data of Saitama, and he becomes fascinated by the man who destroyed his creations in seconds. Years ago, Genus stood at the top of the scientific world. He believed natural evolution is too slow and flawed, and to him, mankind has stagnated, so he proposed that humans should take control of their own evolution to advance at a more efficient pace. However, his radical ideas were met with rejection and scorn, and shunned by the academic community, so he chooses to continue his work alone. At 70 years old, Genus makes a breakthrough. He discovers the secret to human cloning and creates multiple copies of himself. These clones share his views and carry forward his vision, and together, they form the House of Evolution, a secret laboratory dedicated to creating new species through genetic manipulation and cybernetic enhancement. Now, in the present, one of the creations, Armored Gorilla, narrates this history to Saitama and Genos, and concludes that Genus simply wants to study Saitama's body to unlock the mystery of his strength. Genos determines that the House of Evolution poses an ongoing threat and suggests taking the initiative to eliminate it. Saitama agrees because there's a big sale at the supermarket the next day, and he doesn't want anything to interfere with it. Before they depart, Genos asks Armored Gorilla if the organization has unleashed any other dangerous cyborgs in the past 4 years, and when he learns they haven't, he decides not to destroy him, and the two heroes then head toward the House of Evolution. Inside the facility, the clones of Genus enter a panic. The organization's top agents have already been defeated, and the arrival of Saitama and Genos puts the entire lab at risk. Facing the emergency, Genus orders the activation of all traps and the release of their most dangerous and unstable experiment, the powerful humanoid beetle, Carnage Kabuto. The clones fear releasing him, knowing he can turn against them, but with no other choice, they prepare for the worst. While the scientists debate, Saitama and Genos arrive outside the facility, and they find a large multi-story building above ground. Without hesitation, Genos destroys it with a single energy blast, and Saitama frowns, mildly annoyed by the overkill. They examine the ruins, and Saitama spots a hidden hatch, so they descend into the underground levels where the true lab lies. Meanwhile, in the underground facility, Carnage Kabuto breaks free and slaughters a few clones as a show of dominance. When Genus appears, Kabuto grabs him and demands an explanation, so the doctor tells him about Saitama, a man who destroyed all of their elite agents effortlessly. Intrigued by the possibility of a worthy opponent, Kabuto charges through the halls, dragging Genis behind him, eager for a fight. Saitama and Genos continue exploring the underground lab when Carnage Kabuto bursts through a wall and attacks. Genos is slammed against a wall with brutal force, and Kabuto then invites Saitama to a special testing chamber where they can battle without interference. The chamber, known as the Carnage Room, is designed to withstand their strongest subject's power, so Saitama agrees and follows him. Inside, Kabuto begins to boast about his strength and superiority, and he claims to be the pinnacle of the House of Evolution's experiments. Genos soon reappears, still damaged but determined to support Saitama. He fires a massive flamethrower attack at Kabuto, but the Beetleman counters easily and reflects it back. The resulting blast scorches Genos' face, leaving him partially burned, so Saitama urges him to stand down and let him handle it. Kabuto circles Saitama with super speed, attempting to catch him off guard, but he senses something unusual. Saitama doesn't react, not even slightly, and his instincts scream that this man is far more dangerous than he appears. He freezes, sensing that had he struck, he would have died instantly, so Kabuto stops and demands to know the secret to Saitama's strength. Genos, curious as well, urges Saitama not to reveal anything, but Saitama decides to share his training regimen anyway. He tells them that for 3 years, he did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and ran 10 kilometers every day. That's all. Genos is stunned, while Genis stares in disbelief, and Kabuto becomes furious, thinking Saitama is mocking him. Consumed by rage, Carnage Kabuto undergoes a transformation. His body grows even larger, his muscles swell, and his armor thickens. Genis panics, warning that Kabuto has entered Carnage mode, a berserker state in which he will destroy everything in sight for an entire week, and in this form, he loses all control. Kabuto launches a devastating assault. He slams Saitama into walls, smashes the floor, and sends him flying across the room. But as the attacks continue, Saitama realizes something shocking. He thought today was Friday, but it's actually Saturday. That means the supermarket sale he was looking forward to is today, and he's missing it. Fueled by panic and regret, Saitama suddenly counters. With one punch, he obliterates Kabuto, leaving his body smashed into the floor. Silence follows, and the strongest creation of the House of Evolution is destroyed in an instant. Genos checks the time and tells Saitama the sale is still ongoing until 10 p.m. So elated, Saitama punches through the wall, and the two leave the lab in a hurry to make it in time. Left alone in the ruined lab, Genis sits silently. His years of research, experiments, and evolution theories have been reduced to rubble in a single moment. He reflects and begins to question everything, and he wonders if he had misunderstood the essence of true strength all along. Perhaps, in his quest to force evolution, he lost sight of what it truly means to be powerful. In the heart of City F, a bald-headed man named Hammerhead leads a group of followers who call themselves the Paradisers. Armed with stolen prototype battlesuits, the Paradisers storm through the streets, targeting luxury high-rises and toppling buildings as they go. Hammerhead declares the wealthiest citizen in the city, a man named Zeniru, as his main target, assuming Zeniru built his fortune through corruption and vowing to level his extravagant tower as punishment. Elsewhere, a bicycle-riding hero named Moomin Rider receives news of the attack and heads toward chaos, and though not particularly powerful, he is deeply committed to justice. At home, Saitama wakes from a strange dream and turns on the morning news, where a report warns civilians to avoid bald individuals, as the Paradisers are identifiable by their shaved heads. The newscast displays an image of Hammerhead, causing Saitama to frown, and as someone who is bald himself, Saitama feels personally insulted. He realizes people might confuse him with these destructive rebels, so determined to protect his reputation, he decides to find and stop the Paradisers. Meanwhile, Moomin Rider catches up to the group. Despite being heavily outmatched, he bravely confronts them and demands they surrender. But the Paradisers easily knock him aside, and he crashes into the pavement, defeated before he can even begin to fight. At the top of a lavish tower, Zeniru watches the news unfold. His building, shaped like a giant cylinder with a golden dome, stands tall above the city. Though advised to evacuate, Zeniru refuses to flee, believing that retreating would damage his public image. So confident in his security, he relies on his bodyguard, a fast-moving, cold-eyed ninja named Speedo-Sound Sonic. Zeniru instructs Sonic to eliminate the intruders, so Sonic nods and prepares for battle. The Paradisers continue their destructive path until Sonic intercepts them. Calm and composed, he offers them one chance to surrender, and when they refuse, Sonic unleashes a flurry of strikes. His blades flash in the sunlight as he dances between the paradisers, slicing through their armor with ease. And one after another, the rebels fall, unable to react or defend against Sonic's blinding speed. In seconds, only Hammerhead remains. Hammerhead activates his battlesuit's full power, and using its strength, he hurls massive chunks of debris at Sonic, trying to trap him. Sonic, unimpressed, weaves through the attack and counterattacks with a deadly thrust. A blade pierces the back of Hammerhead's head, and Sonic assumes he is dead and contacts Zenaru to confirm the job is done. But Hammerhead survives, as his skull is unnaturally thick. So injured but alive, he stumbles away from the scene to recover. While fleeing, Hammerhead crosses paths with Saitama. Saitama confronts him, eager to settle the misunderstanding about bald-headed criminals, and they prepare to fight. Though Hammerhead hesitates, recognizing that Saitama does not resemble the others, and after learning Saitama isn't with the Paradisers, he assumes he is there to stop him and prepares for combat. At the same time, Genos visits Dr. Kuseno, the scientist who turned him into a cyborg. Genos recounts his recent experiences and his admiration for Saitama, and Dr. Kuseno notices Genos' desire to grow stronger and promises to develop new upgrades to help him catch up with his mentor. Back at the confrontation, Hammerhead punches Saitama with the full power of his battlesuit, but the blow has no effect. Saitama stands unfazed, expressing disappointment that the suit is weaker than he expected, so Hammerhead tries a spinning attack, waving his arms in wide arcs. Saitama watches silently, reminded of how he once trained like that as a child, and he sees a younger version of himself in Hammerhead, someone who lacked direction but sought strength. With a single strike, Saitama shatters the battlesuit's core, and instead of killing Hammerhead, he orders him to stop wasting time and get a job. Hammerhead, shaken by the encounter, decides to abandon his cause and runs off into the city. Before Saitama can leave, Sonic arrives, mistaking him for another Paradiser. Without hesitation, Sonic attacks, throwing kunai at Saitama and drawing his sword, but Saitama catches the kunai effortlessly, then breaks Sonic's sword with one hand. Sonic continues to press the attack, using his blinding speed and rapid footwork, but Saitama evades him with minimal effort. Sonic, frustrated, claims that Saitama's skills are unacceptable. He declares himself the fastest ninja alive and cannot accept that someone else might be stronger. Saitama remains unimpressed, asking to leave, but Sonic continues his assault, and as he charges forward at high speed, Saitama accidentally punches him below the belt, sending him crumpling to the ground in agony. Despite the embarrassing defeat, Sonic forces himself to stand, and with narrowed eyes and trembling hands, he declares Saitama his rival. He swears to grow stronger, faster, and eventually surpass him, and Saitama encourages him without mockery. Later, Genos rejoins Saitama and finds him deeply preoccupied with a different, more personal issue. That is, his complete lack of public recognition. Despite defeating powerful enemies and saving cities, no one seems to know his name, and news reports credit Moomin Rider with stopping the Paradisers, completely ignoring Saitama. Frustrated, Saitama wonders why no one recognizes him, so Genos explains that public heroes are required to register with the Hero Association, and without proper registration, no one can be officially credited for their heroic actions. Saitama is surprised, as he had never heard of this system, and Genos admits he isn't registered either since he prefers helping others without seeking fame. Saitama, however, wants acknowledgement, so he proposes that they both register, and if Genos does, he will officially become his disciple. So Genos agrees immediately. Elsewhere, Hammerhead limps through the city, still alive but vulnerable, when two mysterious figures appear in black suits. They belong to an unknown organization and claim the Paradisers' theft of their battlesuits was planned all along, as they allowed it to gather combat data. Now that the experiment is over, they intend to eliminate Hammerhead to erase all evidence, so they strike him down, but once again, his thick skull saves him. Later, both Saitama and Genos walk into the Hero Association's facility, ready to begin the registration process. For Saitama, it's not just about saving people anymore, it's about being recognized for it. And for Genos, it's the next step in walking the same path as his master. At the headquarters of the Hero Association, the higher-ups gather to discuss the current rankings and the impact of new recruits. One topic of debate is Moomin Rider, who remains the top-ranked hero in the C-class. Though admired for his determination, his lack of power leads some of the executives to question his position. Their attention quickly shifts to two new applicants preparing for the official hero exam, Genos and Saitama. Genos receives much praise and excitement from the board, while Saitama, despite his extraordinary strength, barely gets noticed. Inside the exam facility, dozens of candidates arrive to prove their worth, and soon, the test begins. Saitama, without effort, shatters every existing record. He sprints faster than the eye can follow, leaps beyond any measurement point, and casually crushes the machines set to gauge strength. His performance amazes all the staff watching. However, his expression remains blank throughout, as if none of it is particularly interesting. After the physical test, he joins Genos in the locker room, where it's revealed there is also a written portion of the exam. Saitama's confidence drops noticeably. Genos, meanwhile, receives a separate interview with Hero Association officials. They question him about the destruction of the House of Evolution and his encounter with Genos. Genos recounts the details, mentioning his battle with Carnage Kabuto and confirming the laboratory's destruction. The officials are impressed by his performance and dedication. Afterward, the results are released. Genos is immediately placed in the highest tier, S class. His combat skills, background, and overall performance elevate him to elite status. Saitama opens his own envelope and finds himself placed in C class, the lowest tier. Though his physical test results broke every known record, his written exam score was so poor that it dragged his total ranking down. The examiners, puzzled by the imbalance, assume it must be a fluke. Genos shows no concern about his own ranking. He is simply happy that he is now officially registered as Saitama's disciple. Saitama, however, is slightly disheartened by the C-class ranking. The irony is not lost on him. He's the most powerful person in the room but has been ranked at the very bottom. Soon after, both are instructed to attend an orientation seminar. On the way, a handsome young hero named Sweet Mask, the top-ranked A-class hero, receives word about Genos and expresses interest in meeting him. At the seminar, the presenter is a hero named Snek, who gives a long, self-important lecture to the new recruits. Genos appears to be half asleep, while Saitama is more focused on chewing gum and wondering about dinner. Snek grows increasingly frustrated, feeling disrespected. During the lecture, the origin of the Hero Association is shared. 3 years ago, the founder's grandson, notable for his large chin, was attacked by a monster but was saved by a mysterious bald man, and that incident inspired the creation of the Hero Association. Ironically, no one present knows that Saitama is the original savior who made it all possible. Later, Snek vents to another association staff member, angry about how Genos and Saitama disrespected him. The official dismisses his complaints, pointing out that Genos had top marks in all categories. He also explains that Saitama, though unimpressive on paper, achieved something no one else has ever done. He broke every physical record with ease. The official compares him to a god among men, though the full implications of that statement seem lost on Snek, who is still focused on his bruised ego. Furious, Snek decides to teach Saitama a lesson and confronts him on the street that evening. Saitama, deep in thought about what kind of hero he truly wants to be, barely notices Snek, who attacks with flashy martial arts techniques, but Saitama effortlessly dodges every move and knocks him unconscious with a light flick. The next morning, Genos persuades Saitama to join him for training. They relocate to a desolate area far from the city to avoid collateral damage. Genos explains that once a hero gains enough experience and public recognition, the Hero Association will assign them a formal title or alias. Saitama worries that his bald head and plain appearance might earn him an embarrassing name, but Genos remains focused. He wants to spar at full power with Saitama in hopes of understanding his strength. The sparring match begins with Genos unleashing a series of powerful, high-speed attacks. His arsenal includes heavy punches, energy blasts, and precise maneuvers. Genos unleashes everything he has, creating explosions and carving deep trenches into the earth. Saitama, unfazed, casually dodges every strike. At one point, Saitama counters with a light jab to Genos' cheek, barely tapping him. Genos, increasingly desperate, begs Saitama to fight seriously. Reluctantly, Saitama throws a single punch, but pulls it back at the last second. Even though it doesn't land, the shockwave devastates the area. Genos stares in awe and realizes the gap between them is enormous, so he halts the match and agrees to go eat together instead. They return to the city and arrive at a local restaurant where Sweet Mask approaches them. Polite and composed, Sweet Mask greets Genos and asks to speak with him privately. Saitama becomes suspicious, concerned that Sweet Mask might try to intimidate Genos, but Genos agrees without hesitation. Sweet Mask congratulates Genos on becoming an S-class hero. Though his tone is friendly, his eyes reveal a calculating nature. He seems interested in evaluating Genos personally, perhaps testing whether the newcomer poses a threat to his position. Their conversation ends without incident, but Genos senses that Sweet Mask's friendly demeanor hides something else. That evening, Saitama returns home, and Genos catches up with him later. Genos asks if he can move in and train under him more closely. Saitama hesitates until Genos produces a massive bundle of cash. Immediately, Saitama agrees, welcoming Genos into his small apartment without further objection. Saitama enters his 5th day as a professional hero without encountering a single incident. Inside his apartment, he spends time reading manga, while Genos meticulously observes and documents everything about his master's training habits. Saitama, however, struggles to offer any real training insights, especially since Genos is a cyborg, and traditional exercise does not apply to him. In his mind, Saitama starts to panic, feeling unqualified for the role of a mentor. The stress deepens when Genos reminds him of a crucial rule from the Hero Association. If a Class C hero does not engage in any heroic activity for a week, they are automatically removed from the registry. Realizing 5 days have already passed without any action, Saitama begins to worry. He scrambles to put on his hero costume, desperate to find a threat to eliminate. He had been watching news reports, expecting large-scale threats, but he now understands that Class C heroes are expected to handle minor disturbances like purse snatching or vandalism. With a sense of urgency, he rushes out, determined to patrol the city and find even the smallest crime. Before leaving, he delivers an impromptu motivational speech to Genos. Saitama declares that Genos should aim to become the top Class S hero, not through physical training, but through willpower and an unshakable goal. He tells Genos to fixate on that goal and strive toward it. Genos, unaware that Saitama is improvising, accepts the mission with admiration. Relieved, Saitama leaves to search for a villain. He sprints through the streets of City Z, covering large areas in no time, but the city remains unusually peaceful. As the day ends with no criminal activity in sight, he becomes more anxious. By morning, the situation remains unchanged. Even while consumed by panic, he reacts instantly when a dagger flies at him from nowhere. Sonic appears, eager to resume his rivalry with Saitama. However, Saitama cannot even remember his name, and offers a series of wrong guesses that only infuriate Sonic further. Before Sonic can launch into a monologue about his determination and growth, Saitama abruptly cuts him off and says he is too busy to deal with him. Sonic, refusing to be ignored, draws his sword and attacks. Saitama catches the blade in his teeth and breaks it with a bite, an act that stuns Sonic. Still calm, Saitama warns that he is in a bad mood, and anyone who gets in his way will get punched. Sonic hesitates, suddenly unsure of himself. Before anything escalates, a man in a tank top, accompanied by a young girl, approaches. The girl points toward Saitama and says he looks scary. Saitama laughs, assuming she means Sonic. However, the man, Tank Top Tiger, clarifies that the girl is frightened by Saitama. He explains that citizens reported a suspicious bald man running around in yellow tights, looking distressed. Realizing his desperate patrols have made him appear suspicious, Saitama tries to defend himself, stating he is also a hero. Tank Top Tiger uses the opportunity to insult Saitama and attempts to provoke a public fight to boost his own popularity. Saitama, already frustrated, seems ready to respond, but before the situation can escalate, Sonic grows bored and throws explosive shuriken at Tank Top Tiger, knocking him unconscious. The crowd panics, assuming a major villain attack is underway. Sonic sees chaos as a chance to force Saitama into a fight. Saitama, however, still does not realize Sonic is the actual threat. During the confusion, a car is launched into the air. Saitama saves a young child from being crushed, but only now starts to suspect that Sonic might be the villain. Once the truth clicks, he delivers a single punch, sending Sonic flying into a crater. Finally, Saitama wonders whether this act counts as official hero activity, as he desperately hopes to retain his hero registration. Elsewhere, the Hero Association confirms that Sonic is a known criminal suspected of multiple violent crimes and assassinations. Meanwhile, a new situation begins to develop. City Z has an abandoned sector known as the Ghost Town, a place deserted by civilians due to recurring monster sightings and unexplained destruction. Despite active infrastructure, no one lives there anymore. At Hero Association headquarters, officials discuss the increasing threats in that sector and assign heroes to investigate. Tatsumaki, a psychic known as the Tornado of Terror, arrives, demanding to know why she was not summoned. As a top-ranked Class S hero, she is offended that the task was deemed below her level. Using her telekinetic powers, she nearly wrecks the meeting room before another worker calms her down. Back in City Z's ghost town, a seaweed monster known as Kombu Infinity arrives, searching for innocent people to terrorize. Finding no one, it becomes disappointed but continues exploring. Simultaneously, two Class A heroes, Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio, arrive to investigate the ghost town. As they move through the ruins, they discover signs of destruction and warnings about monsters. Genos notices their presence, but remains home, cleaning the apartment. Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio encounter Kombu Infinity and engage it in battle. Golden Ball uses a slingshot to attack but is swiftly defeated. Spring Mustachio fights with a rapier that coils like a spring and attempts a special technique, but Kombu Infinity dodges and counters effectively. In a brief conversation, the monster reveals that it came to City Z because of rumors about powerful beings gathering there. Unable to find them, it decides to claim the ghost town as its own. Spring Mustachio manages to send a distress signal to the Hero Association before falling unconscious. The association alerts other heroes, but most choose to ignore the call, unwilling to intervene. As Kombu Infinity prepares to leave, it encounters Saitama returning from the grocery store. The monster tries to attack, but Saitama punches it effortlessly, ending the threat in an instant. Later, the Hero Association receives the report from the battle in City Z and becomes more interested in the ghost town rumors. Tatsumaki returns, still angry she was excluded, and dismisses the threat even though it overwhelmed Class A heroes. Meanwhile, other heroes inspect the battleground and find only a trail of destruction leading to Saitama's apartment, though they do not make the connection. Media reports declare the ghost town too dangerous for civilians. Even some monsters outside the city talk about avoiding City Z altogether, and the area becomes feared by both humans and monsters alike. A massive meteor hurtles toward Earth, its path locked directly on City Z. According to estimates, the impact will not only destroy the city, but potentially wipe out multiple surrounding areas. The Hero Association classifies it as a dragon-level threat, something that endangers multiple cities, and calls upon its top-ranked heroes in Class S to intercept and prevent the disaster. As panic begins to spread, Genos receives the emergency call from the association. Without hesitation, he leaves to respond, while Saitama remains behind, unbothered and absorbed in his manga. Genos arrives at the local Hero Association branch in City Z only to find the building deserted, except for one man, Bang, who is ranked 3rd in Class S, and is a martial arts master. Bang briefs Genos about the situation and shares a disappointing reality. Most Class S heroes have either refused to engage with the crisis or are too far away to respond in time. Bang himself believes the meteor cannot be stopped and suggests Genos leave the city to avoid certain death. Evacuation begins with little time left, but Genos refuses to flee. With fierce determination, he races to find the best location from which to intercept the meteor. He activates his newly installed upgrades and prepares to launch his counterattack. At the same time, he remembers Saitama and wishes to protect him as well, viewing it as his duty. Before Genos can launch his assault, another figure arrives. A heavily armed robot descends from the sky, and it is being controlled by Metal Knight, a fellow Class S hero. Rather than offering assistance, he coldly informs Genos that his only goal is to test new weaponry. Unconcerned with saving lives or protecting the city, Metal Knight launches his missiles at the meteor. Genos is forced to stand down to avoid interference, watching as the attack fails to slow the meteor even slightly. Metal Knight then departs without concern, leaving the catastrophe unresolved. With only a minute remaining, Genos unleashes all his firepower. Energy blasts surge upward, colliding with the meteor in a blaze of light and force. Though Bang observes that the meteor seems to slow, he admits nothing has changed. The meteor remains on course, and Genos accepts that he has failed. At the last moment, Saitama appears beside Bang and casually asks him to watch over Genos. Then, with a single leap, he ascends toward the meteor. In a burst of overwhelming strength, Saitama strikes it with a single punch, shattering it instantly. The meteor explodes into fragments that rain down across City Z. Though buildings are destroyed and chaos spreads, the city avoids total annihilation. In the days following the event, Saitama and Genos watch news reports detailing the widespread destruction. The Hero Association confirms that there were no casualties, but property damage is immense. Despite the devastation, Saitama views the outcome as a success. He stopped the complete destruction of the city, and no lives were lost. Genos agrees, though he quietly wishes things had ended more cleanly. He reveals that his hero ranking has improved, and more surprisingly, Saitama has risen from Class C, rank 342, to rank 5. Saitama is bewildered by the sudden promotion, confused about how punching a meteor warrants such a leap in rank. Genos explains that the association likely attributes success to him and Metal Knight, underestimating Saitama's role. Bang may have reported the truth, but the association prefers to protect the public image of its elite heroes. Saitama shrugs off the issue, uninterested in recognition. Instead, he inquires about the disaster classification system used by the Hero Association. Genos explains the 4-tier threat level. Tiger endangers many lives, Demon threatens a city, Dragon threatens multiple cities, and God threatens all humanity. The meteor was classified as a Dragon-level threat. Genos notes that some heroes decide whether to intervene based on threat level, though he believes Saitama does not think in such terms. Saitama confirms this. To him, a hero who refuses to help leaves others defenseless. Genos writes down this insight, treating it as another valuable lesson. Saitama decides to go out and see if anyone needs help, instructing Genos to stay behind so he does not accidentally take credit. On the street, Saitama is approached by Tank Top Tiger, who brings along his older brother, Tank Top Black Hole. Both are heroes dressed in matching sleeveless shirts and harbor resentment toward Saitama for rapidly rising in rank. Claiming Saitama cheated, they accuse him of lying about stopping the meteor. Drawing a crowd, they incite bystanders to turn against him, blaming him for the destruction the meteor fragments caused. Saitama, though initially calm, listens as the crowd begins to murmur, their fear and suspicion growing. From a distance, Bang observes the scene in silence. He knows Saitama deserves praise, not criticism, but he chooses not to intervene. Genos soon arrives, alarmed by the hostile crowd and concerned for Saitama. The Tank Top brothers accuse Saitama of planning to attack civilians, using the growing tension to paint him as a threat. Then, they try to publicly defeat him to humiliate him. However, Saitama effortlessly sends Tank Top Tiger flying with a single strike. Tank Top Black Hole leaps in, but Saitama casually grabs his hand. Despite applying no force, Black Hole immediately collapses, sobbing and begging for mercy. Saitama grows tired of the accusations and tells the crowd to go ahead and blame him. When someone complains about a destroyed car, Saitama cuts through the noise. He reminds them that if he had not acted, they would all be dead. They are alive only because he stopped the meteor. Whether they like him or not does not matter. He is a hero because he chooses to be one, not because he seeks approval. Later, mysterious monsters approach the city, and their appearance signals that a greater threat is on the horizon. A monstrous creature with a hulking form and a head full of tentacles marches through the city streets. This abomination issues a terrifying ultimatum to humankind: submit or be devoured. And as this grotesque being terrorizes the empty streets, Moomin Rider pedals swiftly toward chaos. But before he arrives, Saitama confronts the sea folk monster, and true to his reputation, he defeats it in a single punch. Later, Moomin Rider overhears civilians discussing the event and the mysterious hero who ended it so quickly. Confused and curious, he returns to his residence to research this unknown Class C Rank 5 hero. Although the name Saitama comes up in some threads and rumors, opinions about him remain divided. Some say he defeats all enemies in a single blow, while others suspect him of stealing credit from other heroes. Realizing how little he knows about someone who appears to be rising quickly in the ranks, Moomin Rider vows to stay informed. Meanwhile, in a separate part of the city, new threats from the sea emerge. More sea folk, bizarre and vicious in form, rise from the ocean and begin attacking a crowded beach. Amidst the panic, a Class A hero named Stinger arrives to protect the citizens. Armed with a massive bamboo spear, he swiftly eliminates several of the monsters. Beachgoers cheer him on, but he remains unaware that the strongest of the group has not yet revealed himself. Back in City Z, Genos uses his incineration hands to dry dishes at Saitama's home. As he does, he learns that Saitama has been promoted to Class C, Rank 2, putting him one step away from advancing to Class B. Saitama feels relieved since reaching Class B will free him from daily performance quotas. At the same time, Genos receives an emergency alert from the Hero Association. The threat level in City J has escalated, and assistance is required. The Seafolk invasion is spreading, and Stinger alone is no longer enough. Genos and Saitama set out toward City J immediately. On the way, Genos decides to go ahead to assess the threat, forgetting that he carries the only phone between them. Meanwhile, the Seafolk begin overwhelming Stinger, who fights valiantly but is pushed to his limit. Despite his injuries, he defeats 4 more monsters in a final flurry of strikes. Just as he tries to recover, a much larger and more menacing figure appears, the Deep Sea King. Without hesitation, this massive creature overpowers and defeats Stinger in an instant. The Hero Association, upon learning of Stinger's defeat, raises the threat level from Tiger to Demon. Elsewhere, Moomin Rider approaches City J, but sees a group of Class C heroes fleeing in a pickup truck. Despite their warnings, he continues forward on his bicycle, undeterred by the mounting danger. In another part of the city, the Deep Sea King strolls through the rain-slick streets, his strength amplified by the moisture. Lightning Max intercepts him and attempts an attack using his explosive footwear, but is swiftly beaten and hurled through a building. Before he can hit the ground, he is caught by Puri Puri, a flamboyant and muscular Class S hero who had recently escaped prison. Puri Puri, fueled by anger over the injuries to heroes he admired, Max and Stinger, declares he will fight at half power. Without wasting a second, he unleashes his signature attack, Angel Rush, on the Sea King, and a storm of fists follows. For a moment, it seems effective as he dislocates the monster's jaw. But the Sea King recovers instantly and retaliates with overwhelming force, defeating Puri Puri with a brutal counterattack. Watching from a distance, Sonic decides to take action. Though not a hero, he feels insulted by the Sea King's arrogance and steps in. Using his unmatched speed, he launches a series of rapid attacks, keeping the Sea King on the defensive. But the rain continues to fall, and as the Sea King absorbs more moisture, his form becomes more monstrous and his speed increases. Realizing the fight is no longer in his favor, Sonic retreats. In the Hero Association headquarters, Sweet Mask gives a public statement regarding the crisis. However, he uses the moment to promote his new album, giving only vague support to the heroes on the field. He states that heroes must be elegant and strong in their defeat of evil, offering no practical help or encouragement. Back in the city, Sonic continues to flee but is intercepted by the Sea King. He narrowly escapes by shedding his clothing, slipping away naked and humiliated. Before leaving, he crosses paths with Genos and mocks him, telling him he has no chance against the Sea King. But Genos ignores the insult and proceeds toward the center of the crisis. Inside the city's emergency shelter, a massive dome designed to protect civilians from monster attacks, panic erupts as the Sea King crashes through the ceiling. People scream in terror as he steps inside. Allback Man, a Class C hero, stands between the civilians and the monster, pleading for mercy. Two other low-level heroes soon join him, and they are later backed by Snek, a Class A hero who tries to coordinate their efforts. They make a stand together, giving the frightened civilians hope, but their attacks fail. One by one, the heroes fall. Snek is thrown across the shelter, and the others are badly injured. The Sea King prepares to wipe out the civilians when Genos arrives in time to block his next move. Outside, Saitama picks up a dropped phone and answers a call, alerting him to the shelter's attack. He learns that the Sea King has already defeated one Class S hero, and that the situation is critical. Genos stands face to face with the Deep Sea King inside the shelter. The civilians watch in terrified silence, unsure if this new hero will succeed or fall like the others. Outside, Moomin Rider pedals faster, knowing he must reach the shelter even if it means facing death. Genos immediately attacks the Sea King upon confirming he is part of the Sea Folk, launching a powerful energy strike that sends the monster crashing through walls and initially panicking the civilians, though their fear quickly turns into awe. Genos seems to gain the upper hand for a moment, however. He does not press his advantage to finish the fight and pauses to check on the civilians around him. This moment of concern gives the Sea King the perfect opening, and the monster lands a brutal counterattack. The force sends Genos flying through the air, and one of his arms is torn off as he smashes into the wall inside the shelter. He recognizes a mistake, again, that he let his guard down. Still determined, Genos rises. The Sea King is stronger than anticipated, angrier now that he actually felt pain. Realizing that victory may no longer be an option, Genos turns toward the civilians and urges them to flee. He promises to distract the Sea King long enough for them to escape. That moment, more than any other, marks the clear difference between the real heroes and the self-serving ones that populate the Hero Association. Genos doesn't fight for fame or recognition. He fights because lives depend on it. He is willing to be destroyed if it means saving others. Elsewhere, inside the Hero Association headquarters, staff still speak with Saitama. They debate sending him to City J. He's only a Class C, and technically not qualified. But his test results were off the charts. Some believe this is their opportunity to see what he's really capable of. If he dies, they'll know he was overhyped. If he wins, they'll reconsider their rankings. Meanwhile, Moomin Rider continues cycling across the city. Despite being aware of the overwhelming threat ahead, he pushes forward, determined to reach the people in danger. Back in the shelter, Genos battles with unrelenting resolve. His attacks now target the Sea King's limbs and face, trying to push the monster away from the civilians. Their clash lights up the entire shelter, cracking walls, triggering explosions. Genos gradually forces the Sea King outside the shelter, but the monster fights back in equal measure. Soon, they crash back inside. As the crowd scrambles toward the exits, a young girl stops to glance behind. The Sea King uses this hesitation to target her. With a thick stream of acidic liquid, he spits toward her, intending to end her life right there. Genos reacts instantly. His body becomes a shield as the acid hits him full force. His synthetic skin melts, sparks fly from his body, and he collapses in agony. The little girl is saved, but Genos is now barely functional. His act of sacrifice stuns the crowd into silence. In that moment, the Sea King shifts from a powerful enemy to a terrifying monster. There is nothing noble in his strength, only cruelty. As the girl is dragged to safety by her father, the Sea King tosses Genos aside like trash, mocking his decision to protect someone weaker. Helpless, Genos can only wait for the end. Then Moomin Rider arrives, throwing his bicycle at the Sea King. The attack achieves nothing, but Rider doesn't retreat. He stands firm, facing the monster with nothing but willpower. Genos warns him to leave, but the Sea King quickly knocks him away. Still, Moomin Rider gets back up, blood covers his face, his limbs shake, but he stands again. He knows he cannot win. Still, he fights. The civilians begin to cheer for him. His courage inspires them, even if the Sea King is unimpressed. Rider lunges again, driven not by delusion, but by a deep sense of duty. His final punch is blocked. The Sea King throws him through the air. Yet, he never hits the ground. Saitama catches him. Saitama gently places him down and checks Genos next. Seeing his friend still alive, Saitama relaxes. He turns to face the Sea King. The Sea King launches a high-speed punch directly to Saitama's head. It lands with full force, yet Saitama remains unmoved. Slightly annoyed, Saitama responds that the punch was weak. The Sea King, confused and insulted, begins boasting about his power. But Saitama interrupts him, saying the speech is boring. The Sea King attacks again, but Saitama ends it with one punch. The impact is so intense it parts the rain. The Sea King's body collapses in an instant. The civilians watch in stunned silence. Then cheers erupt. They are saved. Genos smiles quietly from the rubble. Saitama feels a bit disappointed, expecting a tougher fight. Elsewhere, Sonic, having returned to the city in full gear, complains that he missed the fight and the opportunity to take down the Sea King himself. Later, while Saitama and Genos walk home with groceries, a Hero Association drone delivers fan letters. Genos gets a stack, but Saitama receives hate mail instead. Genos becomes angry, but Saitama shrugs it off. He remembers the shelter aftermath. After Saitama defeats the Sea King, one man begins spreading doubt. He argues that if Saitama won so easily, then the monster must have been weak, implying that other heroes were even weaker. People begin downplaying the sacrifices of the heroes who fought before. Saitama realizes what's happening, and rather than argue, he laughs and claims credit for stealing the win after the other heroes weakened the monster. By taking the blame, he deflects criticism away from the injured and dying. Genos understands what he's doing, and Saitama willingly absorbs public hatred to protect the reputation of others. It's a quiet form of heroism. Back in the present, Saitama finds one more letter, but this one thanks him, so he smiles. Soon, a drone delivers another message. Saitama has been promoted to rank 1 in Class C and is eligible to move to Class B. At the Hero Association, executives argue over his promotion. They worry he might be a fraud, but allow it anyway, hoping Class B will expose him if he isn't worthy. Elsewhere, Sweet Mask receives the news but shows no interest. He's still upset about the performance of high-ranked heroes during the Sea King incident. When shown footage of Saitama's punch, he remains unimpressed. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Stinger and Lightning Max are recovering. Puri Puri visits them, causing panic. And when Stinger drops his newspaper, the headline reads, "Class S Failure," which clearly affects Puri Puri. That night, Saitama visits a noodle shop and finds Moomin Rider there. Rider offers him a drink, and Saitama accepts the drink and thanks him. He realizes the thank you letter came from Rider, not out of pity, but respect. Because, like Saitama, Moomin Rider is truly a hero. Meanwhile, Shibabawa trembles as if she has a terrifying vision. Something catastrophic is coming. After the defeat of the Deep Sea King, a new threat emerges in the world. Deep within the earth, an ancient creature known as the Ancient King awakens from slumber. This monstrous being that looks like a towering dinosaur begins to march across the land with destruction in its path. The military is deployed in full force, but their attacks prove ineffective. Their strategy is not to eliminate the beast directly, but to lure it into a designated location for a coordinated counterstrike. Above the battlefield, a bomber plane releases Tatsumaki, who descends to confront the ancient king. However, before she can engage, she receives a telepathic order instructing her to retreat. She expresses her frustration, visibly annoyed at being stopped right when she is prepared to unleash her abilities. The ancient king watches her behavior with irritation, but refrains from attacking immediately. Once her communication ends, the ancient king attempts to crush her with his enormous foot. However, Tatsumaki levitates effortlessly out of harm's way. He warns her that only a giant meteor could destroy him, believing himself to be indestructible. Without hesitation, Tatsumaki telekinetically summons a meteor from space and hurls it down with devastating force. The meteor smashes the ancient king completely, eliminating the threat in an instant. The show of her overwhelming power astonishes everyone. Elsewhere, Bang is seen at his dojo, located atop a towering cliff. He demonstrates his martial arts, the flowing water fist style, to Saitama and Genos, explaining the fundamentals behind his combat style. His only disciple at the dojo, Chiranko, watches nervously as Bang expresses interest in passing on his teachings to Saitama and Genos. However, Saitama shows no interest in martial arts, while Genos remains committed to his pursuit of destructive power rather than defensive techniques. Chiranko, feeling insulted, challenges Saitama and Genos to prove himself, but Genos effortlessly lifts him by the neck, forcing him to surrender immediately. Bang then reveals the dark past of his dojo, that his former top disciple, Garo, had turned violent and defeated every other student, leaving only Chiranko behind. Just then, an agent from the Hero Association arrives, exhausted after climbing the cliff. He announces that all Class S heroes are being summoned to the Hero Association's headquarters in City A. This includes Genos. Bang decides to go as well, leaving the dojo in Chiranko's hands. Genos invites Saitama to come along, sensing that the situation is serious. Saitama agrees, curious to observe the top-tier heroes. At the headquarters, the heroes begin to gather. Among them is Atomic Samurai, who meets Saitama and is immediately rubbed the wrong way when Saitama refers to him as an old man. Genos introduces Saitama properly, and the conversation is interrupted by Tatsumaki, who assumes Saitama is an intruder and demands he leave. Her temper flares when Saitama mistakes her for a child. Genos calmly introduces her, but Tatsumaki remains frustrated by the lack of respect. Soon after, the Class S heroes arrive one by one, except Metal Knight and Blast. Inside the meeting room, Sitch, a senior member of the Hero Association, begins the emergency briefing. Before revealing any information, he asks the assembled heroes to agree to participate in the defense of Earth. Those who do not wish to fight may leave without penalty but cannot be informed of the situation. No one leaves. Sitch explains that shortly before her death, the renowned prophet Madame Shibabawa issued one final warning that the Earth is in trouble. Sitch mentions that Shibabawa's predictions have always been 100% accurate, be it monster attacks or natural disasters. He warns the heroes to prepare for a fight in the next 6 months. Just after he says this, the headquarters is attacked by Skyfolk, who are quickly slain by Melzargard, a member of the Dark Matter Thieves. Soon after, an alien spacecraft proceeds to destroy a city, causing a large number of casualties. Just as Melzargard is about to kill some civilians, Ian, a student of Atomic Samurai, arrives and engages him in battle. Saitama encounters the alien ship and advances towards it, avoiding some projectiles thrown at him and damaging the ship. Meanwhile, Melzargard proves to be a challenge for Ian and causes him to lose his left arm before Atomic Samurai intervenes, saving his student from death. Melzargard, however, regenerates, and the hero's attacks seem to cause no damage to him.
But other Class S heroes, Bang, Metalbat, and Puri Puri, soon join the battle, and they engage the creature together.
Inside the Hero Association, staff members begin coordinating emergency responses. One of the officials believes the current crisis may warrant a god threat level, the highest classification of danger. Meanwhile, Child Emperor concludes that the 4 heroes fighting the creature on the ground will manage, and that their focus should be on the alien mothership instead. However, its altitude and defense systems make it nearly impossible to reach. King, despite being labeled the strongest man alive, admits they are outmatched and suggests contacting Metal Knight. Tatsumaki is unimpressed by this plan and offers to destroy the ship herself. Genos proposes assisting her by attacking from the ground, but Tatsumaki rejects his offer, and Darkshine warns Genos not to anger her. Genos relents, confident that Saitama will handle it. Inside the ship, Saitama tears through enemy after enemy, showing no signs of effort, and as he explores the vessel, he encounters Goribus, an alien warrior boasting of his strength. Gorobus charges his attack, but Saitama defeats him instantly with a single punch, erasing him completely. Saitama continues his advance, wondering if the alien leader is still alive or has already been eliminated by accident. Meanwhile, the alien commander is watching Saitama's rampage unfold. Saitama continues his advance through the alien spaceship, tearing down walls and eliminating every obstacle in his path. The alien soldiers fall before him without resistance, and his objective remains the same. He wants to find the leader responsible for the destruction of City A. On the ship's bridge, the one-eyed alien commander named Boros learns about the intruder. He is the leader of the Dark Matter Thieves, a group of powerful alien conquerors. Garugan panics while analyzing Saitama's progress, while another alien commander, Melzargard, is still locked in battle on the ground against the Class S heroes. Boros remains calm and instructs Garugan and Melzargard to eliminate the intruder. When informed of Gorobus's death, Boros begins to take the matter seriously. In another part of the world, the media covers alien attacks. Sonic, Dr. Kusano, and Hammerhead observe the coverage and take note of the unfolding crisis. The alien spaceship floats above the ruins of City A, while Melzargard continues battling the heroes. On the battlefield, Melzargard reforms his body after Puri unleashes his powerful Dark Angel Rush attack. Ian shares what he has learned from the fight and explains that Melzargard can regenerate indefinitely and that even their strongest attacks only delay him briefly. Meanwhile, a single strike from the alien is enough to be fatal. Melzargard shifts his focus toward Puri, attempting to eliminate him next. However, Bang intervenes and counters the attack. Using his martial arts, Bang launches Melzargard through the battlefield, proving his strength despite his age. Recognizing that the situation is escalating, Melzargard tries to send one of his detachable heads into the sky to signal the spaceship for a full bombardment of the battlefield. Before the head can escape, Metalbat intercepts it and smashes it to the ground. He then destroys it entirely with a single blow, surprising even his fellow heroes. Back in the spaceship, Garugan communicates with Melzargard. He warns him about Saitama's intrusion and urges him to finish off the heroes so he can return to defend the ship. However, Melzargard remains entangled in the ground battle and cannot break free. Saitama, now facing a locked metal door, casually pulls down the entire wall to continue moving forward. Unaware of his exact location, he accidentally finds himself close to the bridge. He proceeds to wander deeper into the ship, uninterested in protocol or resistance. Melzargard, still regenerating and reforming from multiple attacks, begins to feel pressured. The heroes are not giving him room to act freely. While Metalbat keeps fighting one of his heads, he spots a glowing marble inside its regenerating body. He grabs it before the head can recover fully. This discovery causes the head to panic. Metalbat realizes the marble is the source of the regeneration and strikes it hard, shattering it. The head melts completely, and he immediately informs the others of the weakness. With this new strategy, the heroes shift focus. Bang, Puri, and Atomic Samurai coordinate their attacks to destroy the marbles inside each of Melzargard's remaining heads. As they begin to succeed, the alien requests a full artillery bombardment of the area to clear the battlefield. Inside the spaceship, Garugan contacts Saitama through telepathy, ordering him to leave immediately. He threatens to unleash the full might of their forces if Saitama does not obey. Saitama, uninterested in the threat, claims he is lost and asks for directions to exit. Misunderstanding Saitama's intentions, Garugan offers to guide him out. But as soon as directions are given, Saitama heads in the opposite direction, which leads him deeper into the ship, unknowingly moving toward the bridge. Garugan, now desperate, prepares to confront Saitama personally. He declares himself the most powerful telekinetic being in the universe, and launches an attack by manipulating hundreds of objects within the room, attempting to overwhelm Saitama with a flurry of high-speed debris. The attack fails to injure Saitama. Garugan then increases the gravity around Saitama to near black hole levels, collapsing metal panels and crushing his own crew in the process. But Saitama remains unaffected. Just as Garugan prepares another wave of telekinetic attacks, Saitama calls his powers a waste and tosses a single piece of debris directly into the alien's forehead, instantly killing him. With the telekinetic commander eliminated, Saitama interrogates surviving crew members for directions to Boros. Back on the ground, Child Emperor and Genos realize that the spaceship is preparing to fire again. They notify Sich, who immediately orders all rescue teams to retreat. The massive cannon locks onto the battlefield, where Melzargard continues his fight with the Class S heroes. The bombardment begins. Melzargard smiles, thinking the heroes will perish in the strike. Just before impact, Tatsumaki arrives and halts the shells mid-air with her psychic powers. With a flick of her hand, she redirects the shells back toward the spaceship. The resulting explosion devastates the vessel's upper decks and eliminates one of the aliens manning the cannon. On the ground, the other heroes take advantage of the opening. Melzargard is now left with only 2 heads. Metal Bat draws his attention, allowing Puri Puri to restrain his arms. Bang then uses this moment to grab and destroy another marble, reducing the alien to a single head. In a final retaliation, Melzargard lands a direct hit on Bang, sending him crashing through walls and leaving him embedded in concrete. Although the damage is severe, Bang's effort ensures victory is within reach. The remaining heroes close in for the final attack. Melzargard, unaware of his numerical disadvantage, believes he now has the upper hand and turns his attention to Atomic Samurai. Inside the spaceship, Saitama finally reaches the bridge. Boros stands and waits, having sensed Saitama's power. He introduces himself as the Dominator of the universe, a warrior who has searched for centuries for someone worthy to fight. He explains that he traveled to Earth based on a prophecy that foretold a worthy opponent would be found here. Saitama listens but quickly dismisses Boros' theatrics and criticizes him for destroying City A. When Boros unleashes his power, Saitama retaliates with a powerful punch that shatters the armor containing Boros' energy. To Saitama's surprise, Boros survives the attack. His broken armor reveals his true form, a massive, glowing monster powered by unimaginable energy. Atop the wrecked alien ship, Boros enters his fully powered form and unleashes a brutal assault on Saitama. Though Boros throws countless strikes with both arms, Saitama calmly deflects each blow using just one hand. Boros finally manages to push Saitama back slightly, but instead of stumbling, Saitama simply walks backward, forcing Boros to chase after him. The subtle move highlights how dominant Saitama remains, despite Boros going all out. Saitama then retaliates with a single punch, instantly blowing off one of Boros' arms. Though Boros is clearly shocked, he hides his reaction and admits that Saitama is keeping up with his full power. Saitama casually agrees that Boros is strong. As their duel continues, the story briefly shifts focus back to the ground where Tank Top Master finally decides to act, long after the battle has begun. Feeling uneasy about leaving everything to Tatsumaki, he hurls a massive piece of rubble toward the ship, revealing his superhuman strength. Shortly after, Tatsumaki arrives and launches an overwhelming telekinetic barrage. She lifts enormous pieces of buildings, pavement, and debris into the air, and relentlessly pelts the ship from all directions. Tank Top Master watches helplessly as she outclasses him entirely. Elsewhere, Genos watches the aerial bombardment alongside Child Emperor until Drive Knight appears and abruptly announces he is leaving. Before departing, Drive Knight warns Genos to be cautious of Metal Knight, claiming they are enemies, though he offers no further explanation. Meanwhile, the Class S heroes on the ground continue battling Melzargard, who is still regenerating and attempting to crush Atomic Samurai with his many heads. Bang returns and joins the fray. Atomic Samurai launches a precise attack, slicing one of Melzargard's heads with Atomic Slash. Just as the alien begins to regenerate, Bang calmly walks forward and points out that Melzargard always starts regenerating from the head. With that knowledge, he punches straight through the half-formed skull, shattering the hidden marble core inside and ending Melzargard permanently. The group takes a moment to reflect on the teamwork it required. Atomic Samurai lightly accuses Bang of stealing the finishing blow, while Metal Bat points out the alien ship still looms above. Moomin Rider, Stinger, and Lightning Max continue evacuating civilians, ensuring survivors are safely escorted away from the crash zone. Their efforts reflect the importance of every hero class, regardless of power. The story returns to Saitama and Boros, who continue their fierce exchange on the surface of the ship. Boros releases an enormous energy blast that incinerates part of the ship, but Saitama remains unmoved. Boros sneaks behind him and punches hard enough to push him slightly, but Saitama's face barely shifts. Boros begins a lengthy monologue about his harsh homeworld, the evolution of his species, and his unmatched regenerative powers. He boasts about how unleashing this energy shortens his life, but gives him godlike strength. Saitama grows tired of the speech and interrupts him. Boros, unshaken, activates his ultimate transformation, Meteoric Burst, and launches Saitama into the air with an explosive strike. The attack destroys a huge portion of the ship and hurls Saitama into space, all the way to the surface of the moon. Saitama lands hard, briefly assessing his surroundings in silence. He pinches his nose to hold his breath, picks up a rock to test gravity, and then leaps. His jump creates a massive crater on the moon and sends him soaring back to Earth. Saitama lands on the alien ship, surprising Boros. The alien commander, thrilled that Saitama survived, charges toward him again. Saitama answers with a single punch to Boros' stomach, sending him flying across the ship. Boros endures the attack and manages to stay alive, more excited than ever that he has found a worthy opponent. He continues attacking as Saitama unleashes his consecutive normal punches, creating a storm of shockwaves that tear through the ship and destroy large sections of its structure. Boros' body is nearly obliterated, reduced to fragments, but he manages to survive using his regenerative powers. His last move is a final, desperate attack called Collapsing Star Cannon, which gathers and releases all of his remaining energy in a massive beam aimed to destroy the entire planet. Saitama answers this final effort with a new attack of his own, killer move, Serious Punch. His punch annihilates Boros' energy beam, obliterates the ship's energy core, and creates a shockwave that clears the skies. After the dust settles, Boros lies broken and dying. He acknowledges defeat and realizes that Saitama never fought seriously, despite Boros using everything he had. Saitama, in return, shows respect by telling Boros the battle was hard fought. Boros dies, comforted by the illusion that he met his equal, while Saitama quietly honors the mutual understanding they shared. The ship, no longer powered by its energy core, begins collapsing. Inside, the surviving aliens panic, while Fred, one of the last remaining crew members, sobs in fear. On the ground, the heroes prepare to flee the crash zone. Atomic Samurai carries Ian, Bang runs ahead, and the others sprint away. The ship crashes and burns, and Tatsumaki hovers nearby, puzzled by the sudden end to the battle. Sweet Mask finally arrives at the scene and questions the Class S heroes. He demands an explanation for the destruction and criticizes them for failing to protect the city. Metal Bat and others defend their efforts, pointing out that the alien assault was sudden and unstoppable. Sweet Mask accuses them of weakness, despite not being present during the attack himself. As they argue, one of Metal Knight's drones lands nearby, intending to salvage alien technology. Genos confronts the drone, but Metal Knight ignores his warnings. Sweet Mask offers a final insult, claiming that strong weapons are useless in the hands of the incompetent. The Class S group reacts, and Darkshine announces he has found alien survivors. Fred and a few others beg for mercy, hoping to be spared. Instead, Sweet Mask kills them all instantly. He calls it justice, but his action leaves the other heroes in stunned silence. Genos watches silently, reflecting on how he once thought similarly before meeting Saitama. Now, he questions that mindset. Tatsumaki arrives just as Saitama punches his way out of the ship. Genos asks if Saitama defeated the alien leader, and Saitama confirms it. Tatsumaki demands an explanation, confused how a Class B hero infiltrated the ship. Genos defends Saitama, but Tatsumaki launches him into rubble for his insolence. Before tensions rise further, Bang interrupts and tells them to calm down. Saitama tries to help Genos but accidentally pulls his arm off. Bang walks over, groaning about his back. With the battle over, the government rebuilds the Heroes Association headquarters atop the ruins of City A. It becomes a new base where Class A and above heroes reside and respond to threats more efficiently. A memorial for those lost in the attack is also built. Saitama and Genos are returning from the grocery store, and as they walk past a store window, Saitama notices an action figure modeled after the S-Class hero King, displayed among other merchandise, and remarks on how fame brings such rewards. Genos suggests calling the toy company to create one for Saitama. He brushes the suggestion aside. Their casual outing is suddenly interrupted by a monstrous creature that attacks nearby civilians, identifying itself as Tongue Stretcher and roaring that all humans now belong to him. People scream and flee from the monstrous threat, but the chaos abruptly halts with the arrival of King, whom the crowd instantly recognizes as the hero known as the strongest man on Earth. The crowd cheers, believing King will eliminate the monster in one blow, and the monster itself trembles and begs for forgiveness. King says little and begins to leave, claiming he has errands to finish, which causes Genos to spot him from afar and reminds Saitama that they met King during the Hero Association's S-Class meeting. Just as Genos wonders why King is there, another enemy appears, a humanoid robot called G4, which declares itself a mechanical assassin developed by the organization on a mission to eliminate King and test its data against the world's strongest hero. While bystanders panic, King stands silent as his heartbeat echoes loudly, a sound the onlookers mistake for the King engine, which they whisper is a harbinger of doom for any monster who hears it. King appears composed but excuses himself, saying he needs to drop off some things before the fight, and G4 allows him 10 minutes to return, threatening to kill the civilians if he is late. Once he flees to a public restroom, King trembles in terror and admits inwardly that he is not a hero at all, but an ordinary man who earned undeserved glory, with the so-called King engine merely the sound of his heart beating wildly from fear. He reflects that every time a monster appeared near him, someone else defeated it, and by coincidence, King was credited as the victor, which led to his promotion to S-Class and the public hailing him as the strongest man alive, leaving him now feeling trapped in his own lie and terrified of exposure. While King hides, Genos engages G4 on his own, analyzing its strength and determining it is a demon-level threat capable of immense destruction. The cyborg launches his incineration cannon, but G4 proves highly advanced and forces Genos to fight at full power until the robot's body splits open, revealing a smaller, faster combat unit concealed within. Elsewhere, King reaches his high-rise apartment, locks the door behind him, and feels relieved to have escaped danger once again, so he turns on his video game console to calm his nerves. Just as he begins, Saitama appears inside the apartment, explaining that the window was open, which startles King and confuses him about how Saitama climbed to the 20th floor. Realizing this is the same man he saw in the S-Class meeting, King watches as Saitama casually sits beside him, observes the game, and listens as King admits he bought what he thought was an action game but accidentally purchased a romance simulator instead, prompting Saitama to join him to play. While they game, the city issues an emergency announcement about a gigantic bird-type monster sighted above City M and classified as a demon-level threat, leading Saitama to decide to leave. Before he can, however, the monstrous bird smashes into King's apartment, causing King to freeze in panic, while Saitama effortlessly catches the bird's attack with one hand and eliminates it instantly. Saitama then turns to King and asks how he usually handles these encounters, noting that monsters seem drawn to him, while across the city, Genos continues his intense fight with G4. The robot mocks him, saying it wishes to battle King instead, which causes Genos to respond with fury as he promises that a far stronger man than King exists, before he unleashes a powerful blast that melts the robot's outer frame and finally destroys it completely. Back at King's apartment, the terrified hero admits the truth to Saitama, confessing that all the stories about his power are false and that he never fought any of the monsters attributed to him, with Saitama often being the real savior behind those incidents. Remembering their first encounter years ago when Saitama saved him from a monster, King breaks down and apologizes, but Saitama tells him he is not angry and encourages him to stop running away, leaving King to listen silently, ashamed but comforted. Meanwhile, Genos brings the salvaged remains of G4 to his creator, Dr. Kusano, who examines the advanced AI technology and agrees to upgrade Genos using compatible components. The doctor reminds Genos not to overexert himself and warns that revenge against the mad cyborg who destroyed his home may lead him to ruin, but Genos insists he cannot rest until that enemy is found and destroyed, leading Dr. Kusano to observe that despite having a mentor now, Genos' heart still burns for vengeance. At the Hero Association headquarters, senior official Sitch conducts an emergency conference where he has gathered top heroes and even criminal fighters to discuss a grim prediction made by the psychic hero Shibawa, who foresaw Earth's destruction within 6 months. Sitch urges cooperation between heroes and ex-villains to prepare for what may come, and while many laugh off his words, others listen intently. Among them is the ninja assassin Sonic, who interrupts and demands to know where Saitama is. But when Sitch refuses to answer, Sonic leaves and declares he has no reason to stay. In Z City, the top B-class hero Fubuki discusses Saitama's unusual strength and rapid rise in ranks with her subordinates Eyelashes and Mountain Ape, noting that he broke every physical test record and advanced from Class C to Class B in record time. They suspect he is hiding his real strength and head out to look for him, while elsewhere, Sonic also vows privately to track Saitama down and avenge his previous humiliation. Back in City Z, King and Saitama resume playing video games until their session ends with Saitama accidentally breaking the controller, which leaves King in quiet disbelief. Within the Hero Association headquarters, Sitch attempts to manage the volatile situation by offering the group of notorious criminals payment and amnesty for their past crimes in exchange for their assistance against a looming existential threat. He assures them the meeting is not a trap, despite the presence of numerous A-class heroes for his protection. Among them, a powerful criminal named Garo grows impatient with the proceedings. He openly insults both the heroes and the criminals, declaring that he is on the side of monsters and that everyone else is his enemy, so he starts beating up the criminals and Sitch's guards using his martial arts skills. After brutally punishing everyone, he leaves Sitch alone to spread the word of the monster Garo, saying he will be back in 6 months after more training. Meanwhile, Saitama is at his apartment playing video games on the portable PlayStation, while Genos is doing chores. He hears a knock on the door and opens it to see Sonic trying to find Saitama to fight him, which causes Genos to engage Sonic by saying he doesn't deserve to fight his master. Inside, Saitama accidentally deletes King's save file but reacts with casual indifference, noting he brought the game without asking anyway. Just then, there is a knock on the door, and when Saitama opens, a group of somber individuals in suits announce themselves as representatives from some organization. They demand Saitama's immediate affiliation, and when an annoyed Saitama refuses and tries to shut the door, the group persists by stating they are there to formally invite him to join Fubuki's faction. At that moment, Fubuki herself comes in front, dramatically announcing her title as the Blizzard of Hell and leader of the Blizzard Group, while declaring her intent to defeat Saitama and force his submission. Saitama remains unimpressed and tells her to leave, and after Fubuki fails to convince him, she orders her underlings to attack him, but Saitama easily beats them in one punch. Fubuki then uses her psychic abilities to seemingly defeat Saitama, but he remains unfazed by her attacks and berates her for surrounding herself with underlings to bolster her own strength. He tells her that when she faces an enemy stronger than her and her underlings, she will have no one to rely on. And Saitama proclaims that factions are useless while warning the Esper to never insult heroes ever again. When Fubuki ignores his lecture and tries to attack him again, Saitama notices Sonic and Genos fighting behind her just before an imminent explosion, and when the explosion clears, it turns out that Saitama saved Fubuki from the blast while remaining unscathed himself. Genos introduces himself to Fubuki as Saitama's disciple, much to her surprise, as an S-class hero being the disciple of a B-class hero makes no sense to her. Sonic insults Genos by saying that he's slow, while Genos counters that he wasn't even trying, so Genos gets faster and manages to cut off Sonic's ponytail, which causes Sonic to retort by becoming even faster and making shadow clone afterimages. Genos tries to create a huge explosion to defeat Sonic, but Saitama knocks Genos down beforehand, reminding him of why he has his weapons and that the explosion would have destroyed Saitama's apartment. Saitama then challenges Sonic, much to his excitement, and Sonic uses a more advanced shadow clone technique than the one he used on Genos, which Saitama counters with serious side hops. Sonic is shocked as Saitama passes through his afterimages, causing Sonic to crash to the ground, badly bruised and defeated, while Fubuki silently watches the whole thing in awe of Saitama's ability to easily defeat such a powerful opponent. Later in Saitama's apartment, Fubuki reveals that she is the younger sister of Tatsumaki, the rank 2 S-class hero, and because Tatsumaki is overwhelmingly strong compared to her, Fubuki gathers underlings to feel stronger. Genos asks why she doesn't strive to be A-class rank 1, but Fubuki says she can't because the heroes holding the top spot of A-class, such as Sweet Mask and Atomic Samurai's disciples, are beyond her strength, and she adds that she would never be rank number 1. Fubuki tries to convince Saitama one last time to join her faction, but Saitama refuses, and before Fubuki can insult him, King arrives to retrieve his video game console. Fubuki is shocked to be in King's presence, while Saitama tries to explain that he accidentally destroyed the PSP as well as erased King's saved data. Later, the Hero Association gives Saitama the hero name Caped Baldy because of his appearance, while Genos is named Demon Cyborg due to his aggressive and unrelenting attacks, and in the meanwhile, elsewhere Garo defeats Tank Top Vegetarian in an alleyway. In Z City at Bang's dojo, a beaten and bruised Chiranko lies motionless on the floor as Bang urges him to keep fighting, citing his 6 months of training in the dojo. But when Chiranko fails to stand, Bang shames him for not being able to learn any martial arts, kicks him out of the dojo, and tells him to never return. Later, Chiranko talks with Genos in Saitama's apartment, who asks him what happened, so Chiranko explains how Bang suddenly beat him senseless while stating it was a lesson. Genos inquires whether Bang's strange behavior is linked to Garo's recent rampage at the Hero Association and theorizes that Bang wanted Chiranko to leave in order to keep him safe from Garo's wrath. Genos then asks Saitama for his thoughts on the recent events, but Saitama's only concern is with Bang's hero name, Silverfang, as he ponders how it is far cooler than Caped Baldy. Chiranko leaves and walks around, while thinking about how he himself had been holding Bang back from doing the right thing. And just as he thinks of what he would do to Garo, he hears Garo himself in the distance, talking with Moomin Rider. Moomin Rider, who initially thinks Garo is a fan, is shocked when Garo announces his plan to hunt heroes, starting with him, and Garo states his intention of becoming a monster. Just then, Tank Top Vegetarian arrives with the Tank Topper army, seeking revenge for the previous day, but Garo quickly punches him and proceeds to attack the rest of the group until Tank Top Master himself arrives and punches Garo away. Tank Top Master punches the ground, splitting the concrete and unbalancing Garo before charging and ramming him with his famous Tank Top tackle. The Tank Topper army marvels at their leader's strength, while Garo lands after being launched into the air but is bleeding from the hit, which causes Tank Top Master to ponder whether Garo is really human after seeing him survive. Back in the dojo, Bang stands by himself before his brother, Bomb, and Bang thanks his older brother for taking the time to help him, but states how much stronger and more dangerous Garo has become since he defeated and banished him years ago. Back in the battle, Tank Top Master continues to beat Garo with more attacks and wonders why, despite Garo being human, he feels an urge to kill him as if he were a monster. Before landing the final punch on Garo, Moomin Rider runs in and takes the punch himself, then gets up and reprimands Tank Top Master for attempting to kill a human as a hero. A shocked Tank Top Master agrees and feels guilty, though his Tank Topper army argues that it was Garo who instigated the fight, so Tank Top Master tells a bloodied and bruised Garo to leave and never cause trouble again, stating the fight is over. While Garo walks away and fakes remorse, he stops and declares that he will kill them all anyway, which Tank Top Master expected, so he lands a blow on Garo. Garo swings around and unwittingly performs the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist martial art, and despite hating the technique because it reminds him of his former master Bang, he uses it to great effect and brings Tank Top Master to his knees in mere seconds. Garo then taunts the injured S-Class hero, stating that it will be his job as the human monster to defeat heroes, and when Tank Top Master hears his name, he urges him to spare his group. Moomin Rider tries to ram his bike at Garo but is grabbed by the neck and mercilessly pummeled to the ground, which breaks his helmet and bloodies his face. Garo then speeds around the Tank Topper army and, with his superior martial arts and speed, brutally beats them all in a display of skill and violence. A nearby Charanko hears the carnage and finally tries to beat Garo by using Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist, but he is defeated anyway. In the morning, Bang and Bomb see the damage Garo has done and remark on where he will strike next. Bang sees a beaten Charanko on the ground, his last pupil trying to end the problem he himself created. Saitama visits Moomin Rider in the hospital with some bananas to cheer him up, and Moomin Rider expresses gratitude that Saitama showed up to visit him. Saitama states how the incident is all over the Hero Association newspaper, so Moomin Rider explains how, despite being human, Garo was more skilled and dangerous than even the Deep Sea King. Tank Top Master joins the conversation and says how it was Garo's martial arts skills that defeated them, but Saitama wonders who the stranger is and recognizes him as the one who got his ass beaten the most. Tank Top Master angrily states he was holding his ground but is calmed and composed when Saitama offers him a banana. Elsewhere, Tereo, a lonely kid, is reading a book in a playground when Garo suddenly appears and takes interest in his book, so Tereo explains it is a guide about different heroes and monsters from the past. Garo tries to borrow the book, but Tereo stingily refuses, though a short while later, Garo notices that the book states when specific heroes go to certain places at certain times, and he uses this information to continue his hero hunt. Saitama then visits Charanko in the hospital and tells him about his intentions to learn martial arts and get better, but Charanko instead antagonizes him about how he can't begin martial arts as someone who doesn't know the basics, suggesting he go to Bang since Bang already wanted Saitama as a student. Saitama leaves and says that Charanko was useless, but the latter begs him to return and gives him a ticket to the Super Fight martial arts competition he entered. Charanko tells him that since he is injured, he can't attend, but the ticket allows entry into the stadium for Saitama to watch the fights, though Saitama ignores him and stares at the prospect of the 3 million yen prize for the final champion. At a bar, Garo attempts to goad the A-class hero Golden Ball into a fight by rudely destroying his beer pint, so Golden Ball eventually leads him to a dark alleyway to fight. Garo says that even drunk, Golden Ball won't defeat him, but he is caught off guard by a shape memory Golden Ball that grazes his cheek. Golden Ball states that the hero hunter is nothing compared to him and ricochets another shot that hits Garo's right leg, so a frustrated Golden Ball unleashes his Golden Breakout move, firing multiple shots that ricochet around the alley. Garo dodges the projectiles with minimal effort, which shocks the A-class hero, and he eventually brings all the projectiles down with blocks and kicks. With no more ammo left, Golden Ball is left at the mercy of Garo's wrath, but just then, Spring Mustachio arrives. Golden Ball advises Spring Mustachio that Garo's leg is injured and slowing him down. Spring Mustachio forces Garo back with frenzied sword swings and manages to position him for his tomboy finishing move. But Garo allows the sword to pierce his hand instead of being defeated, which shocks Spring Mustachio, and Garo defeats him with a single punch to the face. Garo states how the Hero Guide's contents listed their finishing moves and allowed him to defeat them, and when Golden Ball tells him not to get too cocky and that someone will eventually beat him, Garo responds by saying he will get stronger and be as cocky as he wants. In the city, a sleazy worker of the Hero Association, Zaymit, is walking with two young girls at his side and says that as a worker of the Hero Association, it is his job to maintain peace. He states that he may allow the girls to see their idol, Sweet Mask, if they kiss his cheeks, but when the girls feel unsure, Garo arrives behind them and states that he wants to see Sweet Mask too, then kisses his fist before punching Zaymit unconscious. Garo walks around and states to himself how great it felt to beat those A-class heroes, but now he feels like stepping in poop for beating that pathetic Hero Association worker, whose boasting makes him sick. Right then, he hears Saitama behind him, and Saitama, who has found a wig, says, "Finally found you." So Garo, thinking Saitama is just a low-level hero trying to gain attention, attempts to silence him with a swift chop to the shoulder that cracks the ground at his feet. Garo becomes shocked that his strike did nothing, and when Saitama asks him if he is trying to rob him, Saitama returns with a chop of his own that brings Garo down and knocks him unconscious from the sheer force. Saitama buys the wig as part of his Chiranko disguise, while Genos sees Saitama put on the wig, and worried about Saitama's bald crisis, Genos calls Dr. Kuseno and asks about synthetic hair implants for his master, but Saitama tries to reason with Genos by stating that the wig is for the martial arts competition he is entering today. A flashback shows that when Garo was young, he always rooted for the bad guys to win because the good guys were too popular, and when he asked his father about this, his father replied that the good guys would always win. Garo found this unfair to the monsters because he believed they were always the ones trying their best, but would lose simply for being seen as freaks. So, unwilling to accept the status quo, he resolved to become the strongest monster who would never lose and change the scenario. Garo wakes up from his defeat against Saitama with no memory of what happened, then meets up with the same young boy, Tereo, and after hearing more about Watchdog Man and Metal Bat, he plans to find them. Meanwhile, the Hero Association plans to protect its officials from monster attacks by assigning S-class heroes as their bodyguards, and King manages to talk his way out of this duty by misrepresenting the facts. King states that he is fighting a secret boss, which the staff misunderstands as a real monster, when in reality, he is referring to a video game. Metal Bat is forced to babysit Narinko, a VIP sponsor of the Hero Association, and his son at a mouse sushi restaurant in S-City, which prevents him from watching his little sister play piano. Frustrated, Metal Bat receives a call from his sister, but just then, two monsters named Junior Centipede and Venus Mantrap attack Narinko, but Metal Bat easily kills them. Meanwhile, Saitama signs up for the Super Fight tournament, posing as Chiranko, and is looking over a list of contestants when Sourface, a former disciple of Bang, shows up. Sourface plans to win the tournament to become famous like Bang, and reveals that the previous year a contestant named Wolfman won, but the authorities later found the real Wolfman tied up. This incident led to a new rule that any participant wearing a disguise or found to be an imposter would be disqualified, banned from the tournament forever, and forced to pay a heavy fee. Sourface also reveals that 6 months ago, Garo decided he had nothing left to learn and rampaged through the dojo, disabling many students, including Sourface, which led to Garo receiving a beating from Bang and being expelled. This incident also caused Sourface to quit the dojo, and when Sourface insults Chiranko, Saitama points out that at least Chiranko was brave enough to fight Garo one-on-one while Sourface quit. Back in the restaurant, another monster named Senior Centipede appears and attacks Narinko and his son, but Metal Bat saves them, and then a monster named Rafflesidon appears and releases sleeping gas that knocks out Narinko and his son. Metal Bat is forced to endure many hits before hitting himself in the head to pump adrenaline and wake himself up, which allows him to kill the two demon-level monsters. Recognizing the immense scale of the new threat, Metal Bat prepares to confront Elder Centipede alone to buy time for the evacuation, and he instructs the other heroes present to ensure the civilians' safety, a command which leads the local heroes Pineapple and Mohican to take Narinko and his son and run. A tremendous battle then ensues between Metal Bat and the gigantic creature. where he unleashes all his power by using his metal bat to strike the creature's armored body with earth-shattering force. However, Elder Centipede's durability is immense, and its size makes it a nearly unstoppable force, but Metal Bat's fighting spirit continues to surge, allowing him to withstand devastating counterattacks and land powerful blows on the monster's head. The battle is brutal and destructive as Metal Bat pushes himself beyond his limits, and during this chaos, Garrow observes the fight from a distance. Garrow is intrigued by Metal Bat's relentless fighting spirit and sees him as a worthy opponent to test his own growing power against. So just as Metal Bat seems to be finding a rhythm in his desperate fight, Garrow intervenes. He swoops in and delivers a powerful, unexpected blow to the already injured Metal Bat, and the surprise attack is critical because Metal Bat, who is fully focused on the monster, is caught off guard and severely wounded. Garrow taunts the hero by stating that he has come to finish what they started in the forest, and despite his grievous injuries and the immense strain from fighting Elder Centipede, Metal Bat's fighting spirit refuses to let him fall. He staggers to his feet, enraged by Garrow's interference, and warns Garrow that if he takes another step, he will smash his head in, thereby prioritizing the human threat over the monster. Meanwhile, a martial artist named Siryu asks two girls to lead him to the super fight tournament. The Hero Association headquarters is in a state of high alert, as officials are deeply concerned because they have lost communication with Metal Bat, who was last seen confronting the dragon-level threat. They confirm that this is the same monstrous creature that appeared 2 years prior and managed to escape defeat, which makes its return an even graver crisis. The officials lament that King is occupied with another conflict elsewhere, and as they scramble to respond, distress calls flood in from multiple cities, indicating a coordinated wave of monster attacks. Back at the brutal showdown between Metal Bat and Garrow, the hero continues to stand despite having numerous broken bones and losing a significant amount of blood, and when Garrow asks him about how he is able to stand, Metal Bat reveals that he is fueled by his fighting spirit. So, he attacks Garrow with increasing ferocity, which bewilders Garrow, and he realizes that the more he assaults Metal Bat, the stronger and more resilient the hero becomes. Metal Bat declares his intent to finish the fight quickly so he can return to his primary objective of stopping Elder Centipede, but Garrow mocks this determination by questioning how long his fighting spirit can last against a superior martial artist. Garrow effortlessly evades all of Metal Bat's enraged attacks while analyzing his straightforward and telegraphed movements and knocks him off. He criticizes Metal Bat's brawling style by stating that a non-martial artist stands no chance against him. But to his surprise, Metal Bat gets up and nearly kills Garrow with a devastating blow while the hero hunter is distracted, though he suddenly stops because his younger sister Zenko has just arrived on the scene. Garrow counterattacks and is about to strike Metal Bat, but Zenko courageously stands between them and demands that Garrow stop, stating that her brother has promised to never fight in front of her. Surprisingly, Garrow complies, deciding the fight has lost its appeal and that he has more important matters to attend to. He departs and leaves Metal Bat seething, while Zenko tries to convince her injured brother to return home with her to receive medical attention. Metal Bat, however, remains fixated on his duty to stop Elder Centipede, and as he attempts to pursue the giant monster, Zenko knocks him unconscious with a precise strike to his head in a desperate act to save him from his own self-destructive determination. Meanwhile, two mysterious monsters, Sludge Jellyfish and Phoenix Man, observe the scene and comment on Garrow's impressive power, so they approach him with what seems like an offer to join the Monster Association. But Garrow refuses. Phoenix Man then promises Garrow that they will meet again if he continues to hunt heroes, and he orders Elder Centipede and the rest of the monsters to retreat. Just as Elder Centipede retreats into the ground, Metal Knight attaches itself to the monster and follows them. Elsewhere, the two C-Class heroes, Pineapple and Mohican, who are guarding the unconscious Narinko and his son, are confronted by Rhino Wrestler and are swiftly defeated, which allows the monsters to capture the sun. Meanwhile, many monsters of different disaster levels simultaneously attack heroes, which stretches the heroes' forces thin and alarms the Hero Association. Somewhere, a female monster, who calls her Princess, is about to kill Dynamite Man using her mind-controlled heroes, but just at the right moment, Fubuki stops her attack. Back at the Super Fight tournament, the fighters are introduced, and among them are prominent fighters like the two-time champion Bakuzan and the four-time champion Siryu, who is the overwhelming favorite. Saitama, registered under the alias Chiranko, is also present and is introduced to a mixed reception from the crowd. Siryu notices the bloodlust of Bakuzan towards him, but he mutters that he is only after the prize money, although he wishes he could have fought against Wolfman. The tournament starts, and in his first fight, Lightning Max defeats Lin Lin, and Sour Face reveals to Saitama that the fighters are often paired up based on their apparent strength. Saitama deduces that Zakos is weak since he is paired with him, which angers Zakos, as the reality is opposite. Once their fight starts, Saitama slaps Zakos that knocks him out, and Saitama wins the battle. From the sidelines, Shiryu notices Saitama's strength and becomes excited that he will face Saitama in the finals. The next match features the highly anticipated fighter Shiryu against the A-class hero Lightning Max, who feels the pressure of facing such a formidable opponent, but steels his resolve by reminding himself of his hero status and his duty to overcome powerful threats. He vows to defeat Shiryu to prove his worth as a hero, and even reveals he has developed a new technique for this fight. So when the match begins, Lightning Max launches a swift assault. However, Shiryu effortlessly counters with a single, powerful kick that sends Lightning Max rolling for an instantaneous victory, and he casually remarks that his desire for strength is merely to live an easy life, before dismissively apologizing for being inherently more powerful. From the sidelines, Saitama, participating under the alias Chiranko, observes the fight with his usual disinterest, and while Sour Face is shocked by the one-sided battle, Saitama remains unimpressed and fails to see what the fuss is about, which baffles Chiranko, who cannot comprehend his nonchalant attitude towards such martial prowess. Genos notes how Shiryu defeated an A-class hero with ease, and muses that such a skilled martial artist might provide Saitama with the challenging fight he seeks, thereby allowing him to enjoy the martial arts experience. The commentator then announces the next match between Benpatsu and the A-class hero Snek, who sees this tournament as a golden opportunity to elevate his rank within the Hero Association by proving himself superior to Lightning Max through defeating Shiryu. However, as his match begins, an official quietly informs the tournament organizers about the escalating monster attacks outside and suggests an evacuation, but the tournament champion Bakuzan dismisses these concerns by arrogantly claiming the gathered martial artists can handle any monster threat, which prevents panic. Genos prioritizes his hero duties and decides to handle the monster crisis alone without disturbing Saitama, so he communicates with the Hero Association, which informs him of 5 monster threats in City C. Having already defeated one, Genos receives the locations of the remaining 4 and sets out to eliminate them systematically. And meanwhile, the tournament continues as Snek wins his match and advances to face Shiryu. Genos efficiently hunts down the monsters and showcases his upgraded firepower, and during one encounter, he saves a civilian from a monster. The monster then attacks Genos with its sword, but the blade shatters harmlessly against his cyborg body, and Genos incinerates the monster with a single blast. This display of power impresses the Hero Association, which then directs him to the final monster in the northwest. Before engaging the last creature, Genos meets with other badly injured heroes, and one of them warns him about that monster's incredible speed and advises him to always maintain visual contact. Genos is determined to finish quickly so he can return to watch Saitama's upcoming match. Back at the tournament, Sour Face easily wins his own match, and when Saitama encounters him afterward, he asks if Sour Face has won. Sour Face asks if Saitama did not watch his match, and in response, Saitama irritates him by explaining that he missed the fight due to a bathroom break. Sour Face then tries to warn Saitama about his next powerful opponent, but Saitama ignores him and walks away, which leads to the next highly anticipated match between Saitama and the 2-time champion, Bakuzan. The commentator notes Bakuzan's vicious reputation for hospitalizing his opponents, which is why a medical team is on standby. Bakuzan attempts to intimidate Saitama by threatening to break his legs, rupture his organs, and crush his skull while touching his head. In response, Saitama throws a single, casual punch that sends Bakuzan soaring out of the arena while telling him not to touch his head, which leaves the crowd and commentators in utter disbelief. Observing from afar, Shiryu is intrigued by this display of power from the man he believes is Chiranko, and notes that he will employ a similar one-shot tactic in his own fights. While the tournament progresses, the Hero Association discovers that the son of a high-ranking official has been kidnapped, and they mobilize all available heroes to search for the victim. They also receive reports that Metal Bat has been hospitalized due to his injuries from previous battles. Genos confronts the final monster, an incredibly fast, cockroach-like creature that overwhelms him with its speed and lands numerous blows he cannot track. So realizing he cannot match its velocity, Genos uses a liquid substance to trap it momentarily, allowing him to unleash a powerful incineration attack that seemingly vaporizes it. However, the cockroach monster survives by severing its own limbs and escaping, and right then, Genos senses a much larger, ominous presence approaching. Meanwhile, Fubuki is ambushed by Princess, who has mentally enslaved all of Fubuki's henchmen, but Fubuki manages to repel them back. Soon, however, Princess overpowers her and brutally beats her, then reveals her plan to use Fubuki as bait to lure her sister. Just as Princess prepares to deliver a fatal blow, Fubuki unleashes a surge of psychic energy that throws her back, and an annoyed Princess, frustrated by her resilience, prepares to attack again. But just then, Tatsumaki appears and casually orders Fubuki to return home while stating she will handle the situation. Princess orders Fubuki's mind-controlled henchman to attack Tatsumaki as she flees, but Tatsumaki easily knocks the henchman into nearby buildings. Before flying away, Tatsumaki lectures Fubuki that surrounding herself with henchmen will cause her to become weak. Back at the tournament, the match between Shiryu and Snek begins, and Snek reflects on his journey as a hero, while questioning the necessity of heroes in a world where monsters grow increasingly powerful, and whether someone else would step up if heroes did not exist. During the fight, Shiryu does not attack initially, but instead analyzes Snek's abilities, and he admits that Snek is a skilled fighter, but taunts Snek by telling him that he is ineffectual as a hero, and that he sought power with no particular agenda. This nonchalant attitude of Shiryu enrages Snek, but then Shiryu knocks him out with a single blow as he muses that, no matter what happens, the truly strong will always survive. Meanwhile, within the secret base of the Monster Association, the monster leaders discuss the ongoing operations and report that everything is proceeding according to plan. They note that the Hero Association is frightened and that their operative, the dragon-level monster named Goketsu, is advancing towards the martial arts tournament after having defeated Genos. Simultaneously, Sweet Mask's concert is attacked by monsters, and another group of monsters is assaulting the hospital where Moomin Rider and Tank Top Master are located. In the prison, a monster named Nyan is searching for Puri Puri, but the prisoners reveal that Puri Puri escaped prison to fight against the monsters. And meanwhile, two other monsters named Gyoro Gyoro and Orochi have captured Metal Knight. Meanwhile, one of the S-rank heroes, Child Emperor, uses one of his robot Underdog Man to analyze a monster named Eyesight's poisons in order to find a cure for the paralysis it causes. He proceeds to detonate Underdog Man when it is near Eyesight, but the explosion does not successfully kill her as she hardens her skin in defense. Eyesight then manages to find Child Emperor's location, but she is interrupted and creepily eaten by Pig God, another S-class hero. Pig God decides to go after the other monsters in Y City afterwards, while Garo tries to go after Watchdog Man, but another monster beats him to it. Elsewhere, Drive Knight, the rank 9 S-class hero, interrogates a monster he spared after killing the others. Meanwhile, Death Gatling gathers other heroes to fight the 100 Eyes Octopus, but Flashy Flash, the rank 13 S-class hero 3, arrives to take care of it. He grievously wounds it with incredible speed, and right when Flashy Flash is about to unleash his final move, Tatsumaki arrives and kills the 100 Eyes with ease. She berates Flashy Flash for being too slow before leaving, though not before Flash insults her in return. Atomic Samurai attends a meeting with the Council of Swordmasters to discuss the Garo problem. One of them, named Haragiri, reveals that he has sided with the Monster Association and presents the Swordmasters with 3 monster cells, which will amplify their strength, speed, and skill at the cost of their humanity by turning them into monsters. Haragiri then tries to kill Atomic Samurai as per the Monster Association's orders, but Atomic Samurai slays him before leaving with his disciples to find the Monster Association base. Meanwhile, in the Super Fight tournament, Saitama defeats both Sour Face and Chose before facing off against Shiryu in the finals, with Shiryu promising to show Saitama what martial arts are all about. During the fight, Shiryu begins to express his disdain for the hero lifestyle and tries to persuade Saitama not to become a hero, remarking that it is pointless and boring to do heroic justice and save the day. Instead, Shiryu suggests that people with great strength, such as Saitama, should seek thrills just as he does, before kicking Saitama in the head. Angered and annoyed, Saitama allows the kick to connect, which knocks the wig off his head and finally exposes him. Saitama then throws a short-range punch while exclaiming that if Shiryu's goal is to seek fun, he should not try to make himself stronger than he currently is. However, Saitama restrains his punch before it hits Shiryu, which creates a powerful shockwave that blows off Siryu's clothes, exposes his muscular body, and leaves him in a state of deep shock. Saitama gets disqualified, but Shiryu still attacks him in anger and even uses his final attack, the Void Fist, but Saitama remains unfazed by the assault. Saitama remarks that martial arts are techniques that make you look cool and start spinning around, while Shiryu tries to attack him yet again but is knocked back into a wall while grabbing his white belt, which causes Saitama's pants to fall down. And despite Shiryu embarrassing Saitama with that action, he remains in deep shock over his loss. In the meantime, Genos wakes up from the wreckage, while Goketsu is heading toward the martial arts tournament. The announcer congratulates Shiryu on his win and notes that he finished unscathed, though Shiryu privately wonders what would have happened if Saitama had not pulled his punch. Just then, out of nowhere, announcements are made that there are monsters around the arena, and the attendants are advised to remain inside for safety. Shiryu, in an attempt to get his defeat by Saitama out of his head, flirts with an attractive assistant and calls her cute, but people soon begin yelling about something approaching the arena as black feathers begin to fall onto the stage. The three crows land with Rosie, Dave, and Bazuzu in their grasps, and when Benpatsu tries to flee, he is stopped by Goketsu, who enters the stadium. Goketsu easily crushes Benpatsu under his foot and tosses his body in front of the other contestants, then mocks the contestants, whom he deems weak, but states they may be useful to him as monsters. Snek and Lightning Max confront Goketsu, only to be kicked into the sky and mocked for their efforts, so Goketsu introduces himself as a member of the Monster Association. Zakos and the announcer realize that Goketsu was once a previous winner of the tournament, and Goketsu explains that he was defeated by a certain monster, Orochi, but was given the chance by Gyoro and Orochi to become a monster and gain immense strength in exchange for his loyalty. He then reveals monster cells as the key to his power and makes the offer for the contestants to eat the cells and join the Monster Association or be killed. Rosie immediately eats one and transforms into a monster, then attacks Dave by slamming his body into a wall, but despite his increased strength, he is no match for Chose, who easily breaks his neck. Chose notes the immense increase in power from eating the monster cells and consumes one himself, which transforms him into a monster, and he knocks Jakumen into the air, incapacitating him. Goketsu, impressed by Chose's monster form, threatens the remaining contestants into eating the cells or being killed by him, so Benpatsu, worried for his life, consumes one and is quickly followed by Hamukichi and Vulton. Shiryu and the other contestants watch as they transform into monsters, and Shiryu, still eager to get his defeat by Saitama out of his thoughts, asks the attractive assistant if she would go on a date with him if he defeats the monsters, to which she quickly agrees. Goketsu sees that Shiryu rebels and orders the new monsters to kill him, so when he gives the signal, Benpatsu speeds towards Shiryu, who quickly knocks him down. Shiryu punches Hamukichi in the face and uses Benpatsu's body to incapacitate Vulton without getting electrocuted, which causes Chose to step up and fight. Chose tries to stab Shiryu in the chest with his horns but is unable to pierce his skin, so he summons a ball of energy and launches it towards Shiryu, who deflects it into the sky. Shocked by this unexpected occurrence, Chose is caught off guard by Shiryu, who knees him in the face and breaks his horns. The two continue fighting at a speed where only Goketsu is able to observe them, and Shiryu uses his move, Void Rising Phoenix Fist, to launch Chose away and finally defeat him for good, though he notes it has been a while since he bled in a fight. Goketsu notes the waste of potential if he were to kill Shiryu, and gives him a final offer to eat a monster cell, so Shiryu picks the cell up and pretends to ponder being a monster, before throwing it at Goketsu and saying he would not stand being as ugly as him. Shiryu jumps up and attempts to strike Goketsu's face, but is violently knocked to the floor, which causes him to vomit blood. Meanwhile, in City Q, Garo sees Watchdog Man sitting atop a pile of defeated monsters, so, eager to defeat the hero, Garo attacks using his Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist technique. However, all his attacks are thwarted by the hero, who effortlessly parries each of Garo's blows, and Garo is furious about this and is quickly kicked in the face. Watchdog Man speeds around and attacks Garo, who takes a defensive stance and notes that the hero does not fight like a man but rather an animal. Back in the stadium, Goketsu stands over an injured Shiryu and gives him 3 seconds to stand or be crushed, so Shiryu gets up and tries to attack Goketsu's face again using multiple punches and strikes, but Goketsu is unharmed by his attacks. Shiryu watches as the crows start attacking the other contestants and innocents but is punched to the ground by Goketsu, so Shiryu tries his most powerful move, but his attack is easily stopped. Goketsu throws Siryu's body towards the crows as food, and they begin to peck at him, so Siryu sees Bakuzan watching the battle and asks him for help. Bakuzan mocks Siryu by observing how the champion of the tournament is brought to the brink of death by a monster, and he rejects Siryu's pleas for help and devours the remaining monster cells. Seemingly unable to handle the consumption of more than one monster cell, Bakuzan falls to the ground, which amuses Goketsu. Elsewhere, another monster begins attacking the hospital, where Mumen Rider and Tank Top Master are recovering, and when he steps on an injured Mumen Rider and prepares to kill him, a healed Tank Top Master arrives in time and tackles the monster out of the hospital, saving Mumen Rider. Back in the stadium, the crows attack Siryu, but are knocked aside by Snek and Lightning Max, who have donned their hero outfits, so the heroes assist Siryu in defeating the three crows. Siryu, ready to escape, sees the two heroes taking a fighting stance towards Goketsu and asks why they are not fleeing, noting they are weaker than himself and stand no chance against the monster. The two state that it is their job as heroes and give Siryu the chance to flee. But when Siryu hears Goketsu quickly crush the heroes, he tries to leap over the stadium to escape. He is stopped by the newly transformed Bakuzan, who strikes him down to the ground. And Goketsu notes that Bakuzan has potentially reached the same threat level as him. Seeing Siryu trying to stand, Bakuzan leaps into the air and savagely attacks the helpless champion. Gyoro tells Orochi that their plan to take over the humans is in motion and seemingly working, and using a small, flying drone-like eye, Gyoro contacts Goketsu and tells him to return to the monster base, as S-class heroes may be arriving. Goketsu offers Bakuzan a chance to return to the monster's lair, but Bakuzan sees this as an order and charges towards Goketsu, only to be threatened by him with a punch that purposely misses, but punches a hole in the arena wall. Goketsu warns him not to get too cocky, as there are monsters far stronger than him in the Monster Association, and then he leaves to return to the lair. Bakuzan sees the fallen Siryu, who is battered, bloodied, and weak, pleading to be left alone and fully surrendering while stating he is done with fighting. Instead of granting his wish, the monster grabs Siryu by his long hair and lifts him towards his face, saying he enjoys beating up the weak around him. A desperate Siryu begins to rip his hair to escape Bakuzan's grasp and tries to walk away, only for Bakuzan to sadistically break his already injured legs. Enjoying the feeling, Bakuzan steps on Siryu again, tormenting him further and mocking the great Siryu for screaming in agony. An utterly defeated Siryu then pleads for someone, anyone, a hero, to help him, yelling out into the distance and seemingly getting no response. He pleads for any hero who can hear him to help, but receives only silence in response, and when he sees the unconscious Sour Face and Lin Lin and the battered Snek and Lightning Max, he pleads for one of them to rise up and defeat Bakuzan, despite the heavily stacked odds. Bakuzan then steps on the unconscious bodies of the heroes, and Siryu begins to cry as his life is about to end. But a confused Bakuzan sees no bodies where his footprint is, and finds Saitama protecting Snek and Max. Seeing the caped figure, Bakuzan asks who they are, and Saitama responds that he is merely a hero, and tells Siryu that his pleas for help were not unheard. Saitama compliments Siryu for holding his own, and tells him to leave the rest to him, and faces Bakuzan. Bakuzan remembers that Saitama is the one who defeated him in the tournament, and now that he is a monster, he figures he can get his revenge. He begins with a series of attacks, first using Demon Weeper low kick, but nothing works on Saitama. Saitama tries to remember who Bakuzan is. That annoys Bakuzan even more, so he uses Hellbring and Handchop in a final attempt to defeat him. However, Saitama kills Bakuzan with a single punch. Saitama then formally introduces himself to Siryu as a hero, and explains that he joined the martial arts tournament to find the hero hunter and experience martial arts. Right then, Saitama plans to leave. Siryu begs him not to go because Goketsu is still out there, but Saitama ignores him. Siryu soon hears multiple shockwaves and believes Saitama has been killed until Goketsu's decapitated head lands in front of him. Saitama returns and asks Siryu not to tell anyone what happened, so Siryu asks if he could become a hero, and Saitama agrees, noting that a nobody like himself could become one. Siryu also asks to become Saitama's disciple, but Saitama instantly declines. Meanwhile, Puri manages to defeat a demon-level monster called Free Hugger by hugging it so tightly that it dies, and he then receives a call that his cellmates were captured by monsters. Saitama talks to the C-class hero Watergun and has an existential crisis as he reflects that his experiences with martial arts and the Hero Association have still left him bored. King then meets up with Saitama and tries to explain that he was so focused on being the strongest hero that he lost track of himself, and that he should instead aim to be the best hero. Saitama declines, saying that it sounds boring, but just as he gives up hope, King offers to play against him using only 2 fingers, which rekindles Saitama's drive. Meanwhile, Garo is defeated by Watchdog Man due to the hero's unpredictable fighting style, and though Garo says he is lucky to have escaped after having difficulty fighting against the 4-legged style, the battle fills him with adrenaline over what he can learn and how he can get stronger. However, he then runs into Saitama and King, so he attacks King and is about to hit him when Saitama simply kicks him into a concrete wall, leaving a human-shaped hole. Saitama mentions that he has heard news of a hero hunter and says he cannot wait to meet him, yet he has easily defeated the so-called hero hunter Garo twice now, most humorously without realizing it. Elsewhere, Genos is taken to Dr. Kuseno for repairs, and meanwhile, Sonic is training when he is attacked by 2 powerful ninja warriors named Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame. They offer Sonic monster cells to become stronger, so Sonic plans to eat them as he wants to get stronger. Meanwhile, the S-Class Hero Rank 8 Zombie Man sees Martial Gorilla and is about to follow him when Martial Gorilla runs into the Armored Gorilla, who is going to get some groceries. Martial Gorilla is upset that Armored Gorilla is trying to blend into society and attack him, but Armored Gorilla knocks him out, so Zombie Man follows him instead. Meanwhile, Bang and his older brother Bomb are discussing Garo, the former disciple who has become the hero hunter, and Bomb reveals that he was searching for Garo, but only found monsters. Bomb then poses a question to Bang, asking if he believes Garo has been captured or killed, but Bang responds that such an outcome is impossible because he personally trained him in the past, and emphasizes that Garo is not weak. Bang warns that if Garo is truly descending into darkness and embracing his path as a monster, it becomes his duty to stop him. Meanwhile, at the Hero Association headquarters, a meeting is underway, and an officer briefs the staff, explaining that the Monster Association has been identified as their new enemy. However, the association's full plans remain unknown, and they are actively recruiting and converting humans into monsters. The leader of the Monster Association is referred to as the Monster King, though details are scarce, and the Hero Association has learned that the monsters are operating from the Z-City district. During the meeting, an officer speculates that the Monster Association might be trying to communicate with them, possibly to negotiate or make demands, as they are holding the son of one of their benefactors as hostage. Another officer expresses concern about that kid, warning that if any harm comes to the boy, that benefactor will hold the Hero Association accountable. Suddenly, a member of the Hero Association rushes into the emergency meeting with a message from the Monster Association, and then suddenly begins to convulse and transform into a monstrous creature. As it turns out, he has become the host of the parasitic monster Destrochloridium. Meanwhile, Sonic cooks the monster cells and consumes them, vowing to become a monster powerful enough to finally defeat Saitama. Saitama and King are engaged in an intense video game battle, and Saitama, determined to finally win, is once again effortlessly defeated by King, who is using only 2 fingers. During their gaming session, Saitama finds a special phone in King's belongings and asks him about it. King tells him that it is an emergency transmitter from the Hero Association for top heroes to call for immediate backup. Meanwhile, back at Hero Association headquarters, the officials are in a state of panic after the appearance of Destrochloridium and a transmission message from Goro. The message is addressed to the Hero Association executives, asking them not to attack the monster's living area and expressing a desire for peaceful coexistence between monsters and humans, but this turns out to be a ruse when Destrochloridium kills one of the executives. Goro then reveals their true intention is to wage a full-scale war between the 2 sides using their strongest members, and just as Destrochloridium prepares to attack again, Darkshine arrives just in time and effortlessly kills the monster. Darkshine then reassures the executives and declares that it is the enemy who should be worried. In the Monster Association's lair, Goro and Monster King Orochi hold a meeting to organize the monsters to fight against the heroes. When Orochi notices Awakened Cockroach, he eats him due to the latter's recent loss in battle, but Princess is spared when Goro remarks that she has special abilities. Orochi asks Goro where Goketsu is, and Goro finds out that Goketsu has been killed. Their true goal is revealed to be not just the hostage situation, but to lure the most powerful S-Class heroes into a trap and eliminate them all at once, ensuring that nothing will stand in their way of global domination. and Orochi silently approves of this strategy. Meanwhile, Genos is undergoing further upgrades with Kuseno, who warns him not to be reckless, but Genos is resolute and states that he will not lose the next time he faces a powerful enemy, with his determination fueled by the upcoming battle. News of the Monster Association's ultimatum and the hostage situation breaks to the public, causing widespread fear and anticipation. The Hero Association officially announces that it is gathering its forces for a raid on the Monster Association's base to rescue the child. Several rogue monsters seek to join the Monster Association, but they are all slain by Saitama, who is late for garbage duty. Garo wakes up from Saitama's kick and sees the A-class hero Death Gatling, but he is too tired and goes to a shack to rest, though Death Gatling notices him. Tereo and his friends find someone in their shack and force Tereo to get that person out, so Garo and Tereo meet again, and Garo tells Tereo that if he does not want to be bullied, he should get stronger. Death Gatling arrives with his crew to confront Garo, who notices the crew and looks at Tereo's almanac briefly before facing off against the heroes, loudly proclaiming that after defeating them, he will have beaten 100 heroes. Garo lunges at the heroes, but is knocked back and kept unsteady by their barrage of attacks. Noting their teamwork, Garo targets Glasses, the presumed weak link, only to learn that even he is ready and able to fight as well, so the heroes give the weakening Garo one last chance to surrender. Death Gatling elaborates that every hero present was personally selected for their high skill and experience with life-threatening situations, but Garo responds with derisive laughter by dismissing their abilities and stating that only S-class heroes truly excite him. Unexpectedly, Death Gatling agrees and acknowledges the hierarchy within the Hero Association, where S-class heroes receive exclusive privileges and fame, while lower-tier heroes struggle for recognition. He reveals that capturing the Hero Hunter is their ticket to the acclaim they deserve, which amuses Garo, but he suddenly staggers as his vision blurs and his breathing becomes labored from the poison of Shooter's arrows circulating through his system. Despite his deteriorating condition, Garo refuses to yield and internally reaffirms his belief that each hero he defeats is a step toward his goal of becoming the ultimate monster. When Shooter, Smile Man, and Chainin Toad launch a simultaneous attack, Garo manages to dodge, though Stinger notes his movements have slowed due to the poison. Garo's defiance remains unshaken, and a childhood memory surfaces of other children questioning why he always rooted for the monsters in television shows, which was an early indication of his alignment against conventional heroism. Staggering again, Garo finds his ankle chained by Chainin Toad, and as Smile Man winds up his kendama for a powerful attack called Earth Rotation of Doom, Garo adopts a fighting stance and uses his Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist technique to redirect the attack toward Chainin Toad, defeating him. Garo then seizes Chainin Toad's scythe and cuts the rope of Smile Man's kendama before punching the dama with such force that it ricochets wildly through the trees. When Gun attempts to shoot Garo, he is struck by the rebounding dama and defeated, and though Wildhorn intervenes by smashing the dama with his piledriver, he is shocked when Garo appears behind the debris. Garo, having chained Wildhorn's legs, uses him as a meat shield against a volley of arrows from Shooter, and when Glasses tries to assist by hurling stones at high speed, Garo catches them between his fingers and flings them back with greater force, incapacitating Shooter. Stinger charges with his spear, but Garo violently slams Wildhorn into the ground, knocking him out, and uses his body as a shield to force Stinger to retreat. With 4 heroes defeated, Garo feels a surge of satisfaction, so Smile Man advises Death Gatling that capturing Garo alive is no longer feasible, and Death Gatling concurs, believing Garo has sealed his own fate. Despite his poisoned state, Garo moves swiftly through the forest with Glasses in pursuit, and Glasses marvels at Garo's endurance, wondering how he continues to fight so effectively despite his injuries. Garo taunts Stinger by challenging him to a one-on-one fight, and when Stinger charges, Death Gatling prepares to fire his Gatling gun, but Garo uproots a tree root and swings it wildly to create a distraction that allows him to kick and defeat Smile Man. Garo then insults Stinger for his perceived foolishness, which leads Death Gatling to deduce that Garo cannot evade his Gatling gun, so he unleashes a barrage of bullets that shred the surrounding forest. Garo flees the gunfire and closes in on Glasses, who now runs away in fear, so Garo mocks him for his earlier bravado and current cowardice, before relentlessly punching him and forcing him into a defensive posture. This triggers a flashback for Glasses, who remembers his early days as a hero dealing with the Blizzard Group, where Mountain Ape complained about sharing earnings with him. As a newcomer, Glasses timidly accepted this but felt upset, and one day, the monster demonic fan attacked and decimated the group, leaving Glasses as the last survivor. As Demonic Fan moved in for the kill, Glasses resigned himself to death, but Saitama suddenly appeared with his cape obscuring Glasses' view and effortlessly punched Demonic Fan out of the building. Glasses expressed his insecurities by stating he was just a normal man at his limits and unfit to be a hero, but Saitama responded that nothing decides one's limits, which inspired Glasses to persevere. Returning to the present, Glasses stands his ground by grabbing Garrow's shoulder and attempting a punch, but Garrow's speed overwhelms him, and he pummels Glasses brutally. When Stinger tries to intervene, Death Gatling restrains him by suspecting a trap, but Stinger, unable to watch his disciple suffer further, charges with his gigantic drill Stinger attack. Garrow uses Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist to counter and pummels Stinger into unconsciousness, and when Glasses makes a final stand, he is quickly defeated by Garrow. With only Death Gatling remaining, he decides to use his ultimate technique, Death Shower, which is a massive volley of bullets, and he notes that the downed heroes are out of the line of fire. Garrow warns him that a child, Tareo, is hiding in a shed behind him, but Death Gatling dismisses this as a lie, so Garrow employs Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist again to deflect most bullets away from himself and the shed, saving Tareo, though a few rounds strike him. Death Gatling is stunned to see Garrow still standing and takes aim, but Garrow taunts him by pointing out that Death Shower expends all ammunition. Garrow proudly declares that firearms are ineffective against him, before insulting the hero further by suggesting they should have called an S-Class hero instead. Death Gatling defiantly states that even if they are not S-Class, they still risk their lives to stop evil, and he charges with a blade but is effortlessly knocked away by Garrow, who then crushes the Gatling gun to pieces. Tareo emerges from the shed and approaches Garrow, but upon seeing the bloodied hero hunter and the defeated heroes, he flees in terror and calls for help. Garrow considers reaching out but decides against it and instead removes the arrows from his back and begins to leave when a sudden explosion heralds the arrival of Genos, who was summoned by a distress call from Glasses. Genos now possesses an upgraded body after his previous defeat by Goketsu, and despite his injuries, Garrow attacks. So a fierce battle ensues where they are evenly matched in speed and power, with Garrow's martial arts skill countering Genos' enhancements. Genos uses machine gun blows, but Garrow retaliates with Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist and kicks Genos into the ground. Just as Garrow leaps to finish him, Genos triggers a trap that causes the earth to ignite and fires a blast from his hand that narrowly misses Garrow. Both combatants express respect for each other's abilities, as Garrow is impressed by the cyborg's tactics, and Genos acknowledges Garrow's strength despite his weakened state. Simultaneously, Saitama and King are engaged in a video game match where Saitama appears close to victory but is suddenly defeated by King, making King's record 81 wins to Saitama's 0. An enraged Saitama slams his head on the floor, while King explains that he lured Saitama into a false sense of security and won by button mashing, even claiming he could win with his eyes closed. Frustrated, Saitama is offered King's console for practice, and King receives an alert about a monster appearance. So Saitama eagerly prepares to fight, but King mentions that S-Class heroes may have already handled it. Saitama questions why so many monsters emerge in Z City, but King only comments on the unsanitary conditions. And then King inquires about Genos' whereabouts, noting the growing threat of the Monster Association and that a monster recently defeated Genos, but Saitama dismisses the concerns and remains confident in Genos' capabilities. Back in the forest, Garrow analyzes Genos' capabilities by noting his speed, strength, comparable to Tank Top Master, and his incineration cannon. Garrow begins to walk away, but Genos declares there is no escape, so Garrow suddenly changes his stance by hunching and keeping his arms close to mimic Watchdog Man's movements from a previous encounter. He leaps through the trees with astonishing speed, which surprises Genos, and maneuvers behind him to tear off Genos' right arm. However, the detached arm automatically grabs Garrow's throat and releases cables that bind him to a tree. So Genos states that the Monster Association is a greater priority, and that heroes have no time for small fry like Garrow. Enraged, Garrow decides that defeating an S-Class hero will amplify society's fear of him, and as Genos fires his incineration cannon, Garrow breaks free by shattering the tree and avoiding the blast. He then rubs his blood into his hair, staining it red to match his bloodshot eye, and when Genos prepares another attack, monsters from the Monster Association arrive and offer Garrow an alliance. Garrow ignores them, and Genos swiftly dispatches the monsters with blades from his forearms while being shocked that Garo has connections to the Monster Association. Genos reflects on his past failures and vows never to lower his guard again, while recalling Saitama's advice to train toward the pinnacle of heroism. Garo is startled upon hearing the name Saitama-sensei, and Genos proclaims Saitama as the ultimate hero who is unbeatable by any monster. Genos aims his incineration cannon at Garo, but Bang suddenly appears and delivers a brutal kick to Garo's face, sending him flying. Bomb arrives shortly after to assist Genos, with Bang confronting Garo and Bomb handling any remaining monsters. Bang greets Garo after their time apart, and recognizing his former master, Garo rises to face him. Bang assumes a fighting stance, while Garo cracks his knuckles and realigns his arms to set the bones. And a flashback shows Garo as a child in Bang's dojo, questioning his master's strength and expressing dissent. Sourface berated the young Garo for his disrespect, but Garo simply fell asleep on the floor, and when Sourface suggested expelling him, Bang recommended offering him food upon waking. Remembering this, Garo charges at Bang with sharpened teeth and his rock-smashing fist, ready to confront the man who once taught him everything he knows. Bang hits Garo with the water stream rock-smashing fist, and Garo counters with the same attack, but Genos, standing aside, notes that Bang's mastery of the style is far superior to his disciples, and observes that the battle has already been decided. Bang gives his all by kneeing Garo in the face and slamming him into the forest floor, then leaping into the air to furiously assault his former student, punching his chest into the ground. Garo ponders that Bang has never fought this aggressively before, and worries his death may be imminent, so he uses moves taken from Watchdog Man's fighting style to escape the onslaught and leaps around the trees, which confuses Bang. He attempts to use Death Gatling's body as a shield, but is kicked away by Bomb, who has already taken care of the monsters assisting Garo. Phoenix Man surveys the battle from above and notices that Genos, Bang, and Bomb have defeated the monsters he sent, so knowing the consequences of disobeying Orochi, he realizes that Garo must survive this battle to be brought back. Garo curses the fact that his former master is exploiting his weakened state and that Bomb, the master of Whirlwind Cutting Fist, is assisting him, and he further realizes that Genos is also there to stop him, so Garo decides to kill all three to escape. Nearing death, Garo sees his life flash before him and reminisces about a memory of playing in a playground where a child named Tatsu kicked another to replicate Justice Man. When Garo noted the potential danger of replicating the show, Tatsu ordered the other children to surround him and insist he be the monster. And at school, Garo started a fight after growing tired of Tatsu's treatment, only for the principal to condescendingly insist Garo was at fault. This memory fuels Garo forward, and he continues to attack the heroes by splitting the ground and knocking Bang and Bomb back. But as he prepares to attack again, Phoenix Man appears and blows the heroes away with gusts of wind from his wings. Phoenix Man grabs the hero hunter by the shoulders and flies away, and though Bang, Bomb, and Genos land unharmed and see a monster helping Garo, Genos attempts to shoot the two down, ignoring Bang's pleas. Phoenix Man suddenly yells that he is taking Garo and is leaving the rest to you, so he summons Elder Centipede by shouting his name, and the dragon-level monster erupts from the ground to block Genos' beam and save Garo and Phoenix Man. With the ground splitting from the creature's enormous size, the defeated heroes nearly fall into the chasm before being saved by the three, and Garo becomes angered at the monster's intervention, but Phoenix Man tells him to be quiet and let Elder Centipede finish the battle. Phoenix Man notes that according to Gyoro, only 4 S-class heroes stand a chance of beating the Centipede. When Garo orders him to release him, Phoenix Man tells him to calm down and let Elder Centipede kill the heroes, stating that while the three are powerful, Bang and Bomb's martial arts would be useless, and Genos lacks the firepower to kill something of that size. The monster charges forward, and Genos retaliates by firing his incineration cannon into its face and eyes. Then he steps back to let the two brothers attack. Together, they combine their techniques to create the roaring aura sky-ripping fist, which hits Elder Centipede directly and knocks the immense creature back. The duo don't let up and continue to attack, but Elder Centipede hits back and knocks Bang and Bomb away, and they are only saved when Genos stops them from flying back further. The monster's exoskeleton cracks and falls away but regrows in mere seconds, and a new face grows back, signaling the creature has only gained more power despite the brothers' efforts. Realizing they have no chance and that the monster entering the city would mean civilian casualties, Genos steps up to try and stop Elder Centipede, though the elder heroes try to stop him by saying he is still young and has his life ahead of him. Genos remembers Dr. Kusino's warning not to push himself too far, but decides to fight anyway, so he flies to the monster and fires his incineration cannon at its face. Knowing that Goketsu, Elder Centipede, and Garo are part of the Monster Association, Genos realizes a battle like this was inevitable, so he flies to the centipede's face and slashes wildly at its eyes with his arm blades. Elder Centipede reels in pain but catches Genos' leg in his mouth and bites down, then grinds his face against his body to crush him. Genos breaks free but is caught by an antenna and is helpless as the pincers slice his body in half, though the halves soon rejoin, and the cyborg flies into its mouth, breaking one of its teeth. Inside, acidic fluids nearly kill Genos, but he retains enough strength to activate his ultra-spiral incineration cannon and burn the monster from the inside, so Elder Centipede retches and spits out Genos, who lands hard in the dirt. Despite the hero's efforts, the exoskeleton fuses again and dissipates the heat, which renders Genos' attack useless, and when Elder Centipede tries to crush the fallen Genos, Bang saves him. Garo, still in Phoenix Man's grasp, ponders that the battle isn't ending right, as defeating them would make the hero hunter the greatest object of fear, but Phoenix Man laughs and states that Garo doesn't have what it takes to defeat Elder Centipede, let alone the upper echelon of the Monster Association. Bang and Bomb run away from Elder Centipede, while Genos thinks about what he is missing to beat monsters like this, and decides he cannot simply watch the battle. When Bomb notes that they are luring the creature to the city, Bang drops the wounded Genos next to a tree, takes off his shirt, and decides to fight Elder Centipede, even at the cost of his life. Just as Bang takes a stance and prepares to make a last stand, King appears in the forest with a megaphone in hand and calls out to Elder Centipede, stating that he has brought Blast with him. Knowing the creature's grudge against Blast, King insults and goads Elder Centipede into attacking, as he remembers his plan to lure the creature to his location to prevent more city casualties. Elder Centipede charges forward, ready to kill King, so King calls out to Saitama to save him, and he arrives in the nick of time. Preparing a serious punch, Saitama hits Elder Centipede square in the face, killing him and causing his body to disintegrate. Saitama and King then see Bang, Bomb, and a heavily injured Genos, and when King notices how Saitama seems refreshed, he responds by saying that throwing the punch helped relieve his anger from his consecutive losses. Genos approaches his master and asks what he is lacking, so when Saitama suggests he is lacking power, Genos furiously thanks him for his advice, which causes King to tell him not to use Saitama as an example. Genos tells himself how his battles have shown him the way and what true strength is, but Saitama just thinks that it's time to go home. Following the devastating battle between the S-Class heroes and Elder Centipede, the executives at the Hero Association organize an emergency strategy meeting. They are unaware that Saitama was the true hero behind the monster's defeat and instead assume that it was King who beat it. The executives also express growing concern about Garo, the notorious hero hunter who survived his confrontation with Bang. They fear his rampage will continue and declare him as a dragon-level threat, since he has already taken down several A and even S-Class heroes without being killed. However, their immediate priority is rescuing Wagama, the kidnapped son of Narinko, who is one of their major sponsors and has grown increasingly impatient with the association's delay. The pressure has skyrocketed after the Monster Association threatened to execute Wagama in 3 days. Some executives suggest calling upon Blast, the top-ranking and mysterious S-Class hero, to handle the mission. However, one of them points out it's impossible, explaining that Blast only intervenes in situations that threaten humanity's existence and does not participate in ordinary rescues. Finally, Sekingar takes charge of the operation and begins coordinating with the most powerful heroes available. He meets Tatsumaki, Darkshine, and Pig God to discuss a plan for locating and infiltrating the Monster Association's hideout. Sekingar informs them that the young genius Child Emperor is already analyzing data and searching for clues about the monster's underground base. Tatsumaki, known for her arrogance, carelessly suggests that she could simply obliterate Z City and kill all the monsters in one move. Sekingar warns her that this is not feasible, as it would kill the child, and he also tells her not to underestimate the enemy, noting that Drive Knight went missing after a solo investigation of the Monster Association. Elsewhere, tensions rise among other heroes. Atomic Samurai, one of the most respected S-Class swordsmen, gets into an argument with Sweet Mask. Their disagreement reflects the growing divide among heroes about how best to handle the crisis. Some see the recent chaos as an opportunity to prove their strength and earn greater recognition, especially after Elder Centipede's rampage left several S-class heroes humiliated. Narinko, frustrated by the Hero Association's slow progress, decides to take matters into his own hands. He deploys his elite private militia, a group of highly trained soldiers equipped with advanced exosuits, to rescue his son. In another part of the city, Puri receives permission from the prison authorities to pursue a dangerous monster responsible for killing several guards. Eager to redeem himself, he sets out to find and punish the creature. Meanwhile, Child Emperor tries to contact another S-class hero, the technological mastermind Metal Knight. He requests cooperation and asks for the information Metal Knight has gathered about the Monster Association's base. But Metal Knight refuses to share details and warns the young hero not to trust anyone, insisting that he should conduct his own investigation. He reveals that he personally faced the Monster King, Orochi, during a reconnaissance mission and was completely overpowered in a single strike, highlighting the immense danger ahead. At the same time, Fubuki continues her efforts to recruit Saitama into her B-class hero group. Determined to expand her influence, she visits Saitama's apartment, where she encounters him along with Genos, King, and Bang. But their casual and unserious attitude leaves her frustrated, as Saitama shows no interest in joining her group or taking the crisis seriously. Fubuki tries to warn him about the growing threat of the Monster Association, explaining that her own team has been completely wiped out. She urges Saitama to lend his strength to the coming battles. Bang and his brother Bomb remind everyone that Garo has now allied himself with the Monster Association. They caution that if Garo returns, he may bring powerful monsters such as Elder Centipede with him. Saitama listens quietly, unaware that he has already defeated Garo several times before without realizing his identity. He feels slightly offended that the so-called hero hunter has never sought him out for a proper challenge, assuming that Garo must not consider him worthy. With that thought, Saitama decides to put on his hero costume and head out, intending to find Garo himself and face him in battle. Failing to sway Saitama and his friends, Fubuki only grows more exasperated with each recruitment attempt. Far away, deep inside the subterranean base of the Monster Association, Garo regains consciousness after a long rest. He notices that his body is stitched together from severe injuries sustained in his previous encounters, plus the monsters who saved him have left a message reminding him to be grateful for their assistance. Although Garo acknowledges that their ideology aligns with his hatred for heroes, he refuses to truly become one of them. He believes that monsters, much like the heroes he despises, are bullies who abuse power and look down on others. Meanwhile, in the same base, the captured soldiers of the private militia are brought before Gyoro, who examines their advanced armor suits and discusses ways to repurpose the technology to strengthen the Monster Association's forces. A newly joined demon-class monster named Machine God G5 observes that the exosuits are custom-made for their users and therefore useless for the monsters, while Princess decides to keep the captured soldiers alive as her personal slaves rather than killing them, taking sadistic pleasure in controlling them. Gyoro soon senses Garo's presence nearby and welcomes him into the main chamber. He praises Garo's unmatched strength and anti-hero spirit, suggesting that Garo could become a key leader in their organization. However, he adds that Monster King Orochi wishes to test Garo's loyalty and strength before accepting him as one of their own. Orochi has demanded that Garo prove himself by hunting down a hero and bringing back their head as evidence. Gyoro assigns two monsters, Insect God and King the Ripper, to accompany Garo secretly and observe his actions, as there remains doubt among the leaders about his true intentions. In another corner of the monster base, two demon-level monsters, Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame, discuss their previous attempt to recruit Sonic. They had given him a monster cell, expecting him to consume it raw and transform into a monster like themselves, and now they wonder if he has consumed it yet or not. Unknown to them, Sonic decided to cook the cell before eating it, believing it would make him stronger, but instead of transforming, he suffers intense stomach pain and spends hours relieving himself. Still, he comes out convinced that he has evolved into a new person simply because he feels lighter after his dump. The world is gradually falling into chaos. People are losing faith in heroes and beginning to worship monsters out of fear. Many civilians start believing that surrendering to monsters is the only way to survive, and they convince themselves that by periodically offering human sacrifices, they can keep the monsters from turning violent. Even human criminals and delinquents begin using the monster uprising as an excuse to cause more destruction, plunging society deeper into moral decay. Garo witnesses this growing madness with disgust, as he sees people kneeling before monsters instead of standing up for themselves, and it fills him with strange anger. Despite being labeled as a villain, he cannot tolerate such cowardice, and without realizing it, he ends up acting more heroic than many real heroes. He protects a man who is cornered by monster supporters and saves an old person from being attacked by a drunk delinquent. Soon, his body gets exhausted and his stomach empty, so he decides to rest in a restaurant. There, he eats an enormous meal, devouring everything on the menu with comic intensity. Coincidentally, Saitama is sitting quietly in the same restaurant, eating in his usual calm way, but just after finishing his meal, he realizes with horror that he has lost his wallet. While he sits in thought, wondering how to handle the situation, Fubuki arrives and joins him at his table. She has been following him for days, determined to convince him to join her Blizzard group, so she tries to explain how becoming part of her team will help him climb through the hero ranks and earn recognition. Saitama, however, has no interest in her proposal, and his only concern at the moment is how to pay his bill. He hatches a plan to make Fubuki pay by ordering fries, but she only takes one, boarding him. At the same time, Garo quietly leaves the restaurant without paying, but the staff notices and rushes after him. Seeing this, Saitama uses the commotion as the perfect excuse to run out as well, pretending to join the chase, and shouts back at Fubuki to pay for the meal since she partook. Fubuki is left frozen, shocked by the absurdity of his actions, as she cannot believe how someone so powerful can act so petty in the face of such a serious crisis. Once outside, Garo encounters a familiar face, the young boy Tereo, who is being bullied.
He scolds the bullies as he slides down,
saving Tereo, who is relieved to see him alive. Tereo apologizes for fleeing earlier, when Garo was risking his life against the S-class heroes to keep him safe. Tereo persists in seeing a noble hero in him where others see a villain, and despite his fierce denials, a faint warmth stirs deep within his chest, a sensation he will not yet admit even to himself. Meanwhile, Saitama continues to follow Garo, but decides not to intervene, as he is grateful that Garo's escape provided a way for him to avoid paying for his food. Garo, however, mistakes this for pursuit and sees it as an opportunity to complete his mission from Orochi, to kill a hero and bring back their head. Since the hero magazine of Tereo has no record of Saitama, Garo assumes that Saitama is an insignificant low-ranking hero. He feels offended that such a nobody is ignoring him, and charges forward to fight him. However, the outcome is predictable. Saitama delivers a single casual punch that instantly knocks Garo unconscious, ending the fight before it even begins. Meanwhile, far below the surface, in the dark headquarters of Monster Association, Phoenix Man approaches Gyoro and demands to know why the psychic monster sent King the Ripper and Insect God to trail Garo. He worries that those violent monsters may kill Garo before the plan is complete, but Gyoro explains that this is intentional. He wants Garo to face suffering, betrayal, and pain until he breaks, and by tearing him apart and forcing him to regenerate again and again, he aims to transform Garo into the perfect monster, a being that surpasses the limits of both human and monster kind. Gyoro then reveals a dark secret that even Monster King Orochi was once human, and through endless cycles of destruction and rebirth, he lost all traces of his former self and became the monstrous creature he is today. He adds that if Garo survives his ordeal, he may become the next leader of the Monster Association, and if not, they will find another vessel to continue their plan of evolution through suffering. Above ground, Garo eventually wakes up, and while his body aches, his fighting spirit remains unbroken. Standing over him are Insect God and King the Ripper, and they both are furious and disappointed after witnessing how Garo acted heroically and was defeated by a seemingly weak hero, so they call him unworthy of joining their ranks. Tereo instantly recognizes King the Ripper and gets terrified as this monster is famous for kidnapping and torturing children. Seeing the fear in eyes of Tereo, Garo orders him to run, but the boy cannot move. King the Ripper attacks the child with malicious delight, swinging his blades toward him, but Garo reacts instantly, shielding Tereo and countering the assault. With that, the battle between Garo and the monsters begins fiercely, and he fights with raw determination, protecting Tereo even though he refuses to acknowledge it as an act of heroism. King the Ripper slashes at Garo, while Insect God attacks from above, while Garo dodges and counters on pure instinct. Elsewhere, in a small takoyaki shop, S-class hero Zombie Man tracks down Armored Gorilla. He believes that the Monster Association may be connected to the same organization that once produced artificial beings, so he corners Armored Gorilla and demands answers, threatening him for information. Armored Gorilla, however, calmly reveals that the House of Evolution no longer exists and has long been dismantled. Zombie Man listens in confusion, realizing that the Monster Association must be something entirely different, something far more sinister and organized. Zombie Man meets the evil genius Dr. Genus, the founder of the House of Evolution, who once created countless abominations through his pursuit of immortality. Many suffered from his twisted experiments, and among his creations was Sample 66, a test subject who became a zombified being and later took the name Zombieman. Once stripped of his humanity, he ironically rose to become an S-class hero in the Hero Association, and now he confronts the man responsible for his existence, demanding to know why the scientist chose to disband the organization that once aimed to reshape human evolution. Genus listens with calm resignation and explains that the reason behind his decision lies in disappointment, as, after years of relentless experiments, he realized that none of his creations could surpass a certain bald hero whose strength defied all limits. And the realization that Saitama had already achieved what science could not made his research meaningless. Genus admits that his strongest creation, Carnage Kabuto, was obliterated instantly by Saitama, proving that no artificial evolution could ever reach that level of power. While Zombieman absorbs these words, reflecting on how an ordinary man could exceed human boundaries, Genus continues his explanation. He outlines how humans typically transform. Some become monsters by losing their humanity or being consumed by negative emotions. Others mutate through experimentation or use technology to enhance their strength. Heroes, in contrast, rely on natural gifts, inventions, or rigorous training to push their limits. Yet Saitama stands apart from all these paths, as he broke through the invisible limiter, controlling human potential without science or divine intervention, and achieved his transformation through sheer effort, determination, and perseverance. Meanwhile, Garo is still fighting King the Ripper, an insect god, and both monsters assault him with terrifying speed and power. But despite his weakened state, Garo refuses to fall, and he moves instinctively, reading their attacks and countering with raw precision. The monsters quickly grow irritated by his resilience. An insect god lashes out with sharp limbs that cut through the ground, while King the Ripper strikes with deadly blades that slice the air. Garo tries to find an opening, and just when it seems he might turn the battle in his favor, Sludge Jellyfish appears and drags the young boy Tereo in his grip. Seeing the terrified child breaks Garo's focus for a split second, which King the Ripper seizes as an opportunity to slash him violently. Insect God joins the assault, pummeling him relentlessly until his body collapses, staining the earth with his blood. Convinced Garo is dead, they take Tereo captive and head back to the Monster Association's underground base, leaving his motionless body behind with an uncertain fate. Meanwhile, Saitama returns home, unaware of the chaos unfolding beneath the surface, to find Genos and the others waiting with visible concern. They assume he must have fought the hero hunter, and seeing his gloomy face only strengthens their suspicions. Yet the problem of Saitama is trivial. He is upset because he lost his wallet and left his belongings behind at the restaurant. They stare in disbelief as he complains about it, but then suddenly Fubuki arrives, carrying his forgotten items, and confronts him for running away and leaving her to pay his bill, clearly irritated by his indifference. Soon after, Dr. Kuseno visits the apartment after tracing the distress signal from the damaged body of Genos. He expresses gratitude toward Saitama for saving his student by defeating the monster that nearly destroyed him, and Saitama listens with a blank expression, showing little emotion until Kuseno presents him with a gift of premium beef cuts. Saitama accepts it with uncharacteristic politeness, leading Fubuki to realize that bribing him with food might have been the easiest way to earn his cooperation all along. Meanwhile, deep within the lair of Monster Association, King the Ripper and Insect God stand before Gyoro to deliver their report, where Ripper lies by claiming Garo attacked them first. He requests to keep Tereo as a hostage to torture alongside Wagama, but Gyoro dismisses him impatiently, explaining that the association cannot afford distractions because a Hero Association surveillance drone has already discovered their stronghold's entrance, and the heroes are preparing to strike. Despite the warning, Ripper disobeys orders and keeps Tereo with Wagama in a dark cell where the two children meet. The spoiled and entitled Wagama boasts that his father will soon rescue them and orders Tereo to serve him, but Tereo stays quiet, too frightened to respond until their uneasy silence is broken by Sludge Jellyfish, who enjoys watching their fear. He taunts them, saying that even the strongest heroes cannot stand against the upper-rank dragon-class monsters. Rumors spread through the monster base that Metal Knight was destroyed by G5 after the S-Class hero went missing while searching for their hideout. This worries even high-ranking monsters, as they recognize how dangerous G5 must be to have defeated such a formidable hero. Far from the chaos, a badly wounded Garo lies motionless on the moonlit battlefield, surrounded by blood, with torn clothes and shallow breath. He appears dead, but a small twitch in his hand shows he still clings to life, and though his body is broken, his spirit endures. His will to live still burns deep within. Garo slowly regains his senses with faint memories of his brutal fight returning to him. Every part of his body aches, yet a strange surge of power flows through his veins. The wounds that once covered his body have healed on their own, and he notices his strength has increased even further after focusing and channeling his chi. This near-death experience pushed his physical limits beyond what he thought possible. Then, the terrified face of Tereo flashes in his mind, bringing the realization that the boy must have been taken to the Monster Association's underground base. Determination to find the child drives Garo toward the lair, his concern for Tereo revealing that part of his humanity remains intact. But each battle that leaves him at the edge of death brings him closer to becoming something else entirely, and the endless cycle of pain and survival is gradually transforming him into a true monster, just as Gyoro once intended. Far beneath the city, a disturbance in the dark catacombs draws the attention of Gyoro, and sensing the psychic presence of an intruder, he immediately dispatches several monsters. They rush through the tunnels only to be destroyed within moments by the unknown figure, leaving behind silence and the scent of scorched flesh. Gyoro observes through his psychic link and recognizes this mysterious individual is no ordinary foe. The precision and destructive efficiency suggest the intruder could be Drive Knight, the S-Class hero who disappeared in Z City while investigating the Monster Association. Above ground, the Hero Association gathers its elite members to coordinate a plan for rescuing Wagama and destroying the monsters responsible. Sekingar leads the discussion with young genius Child Emperor, who questions whether certain heroes can be trusted, as he suspects Genos due to his close connection to Z City, and doubts Bang for failing to eliminate his disciple Garo. They analyze the infiltration risks and coordination needs, and Sekingar mentions all available S-Class heroes are gathering at headquarters to prepare. Child Emperor believes the group should proceed independently, rather than forming one large team, since moving together would make them easier targets, and insists that the participation of King will be crucial to the mission's success. Hero Association Executive Sitch expresses concern about Sekingar excluding both Genos and Bang from the mission, and argues that removing two of their strongest heroes could endanger the operation, but Sekingar justifies his strategy by insisting the hostages' safety must take priority. He explains that several capable A and B class heroes will assist the S-Class champions, even if it means treating them as expendable support units. However, this thought troubles Sitch deeply, though Sekingar remains firm in his decision. Narinko loses patience, consumed by fear for his son, and demands progress from the heroes. The disappearance of his private militia has also worsened his anxiety, but Sekingar assures him the association will act swiftly to bring his son back safely. Tatsumaki intervenes with her own warning, telling Sekingar not to involve her sister Fubuki under any circumstance, as she believes Fubuki's lack of raw strength would make her a liability. Child Emperor nods in agreement and starts finalizing the plan to begin infiltration within a short time. Garo continues his journey through the dark tunnels leading toward the Monster Association's underground lair, his footsteps echoing strangely through the ruins. With each step, he grows more aware of how drastically his body has changed, as movements feel lighter, faster, and more precise, with senses sharpened beyond human limits. He can hear faint sounds from miles away, smell blood in the air, and feel vibrations of monsters moving in the distance. Every passing moment pushes him closer to the boundary between man and monster, yet his mind still clings to the thought of protecting Tereo. Back at the Hero Association, discussions drag on as heroes debate logistics, tactics, and attack routes, and all this wastes precious time while monsters prepare for war below ground. Sekingar finalizes the rescue plan, confirming the strike team will include S-Class champions like Tatsumaki, Darkshine, Pig God, and Child Emperor, supported by lower-class heroes acting as scouts and decoys. However, none of them knows that things are already in motion deep beneath them. Back in the dark cell where the kidnapped children Tereo and Wagama are held, the spoiled and arrogant Wagama comforts himself with the belief that his father will send rescuers, mocking Tereo for being a nobody, and taking relief in the thought that only he will be saved. Tereo trembles in silence, knowing no one even knows his location, and his heart pounds at the sound of approaching footsteps. King the Ripper enters the cell with a twisted smile, bladed arms glinting in dim light, and he is there to torment Tereo for amusement, ignoring Wagama. The boy pleads silently while the monster enjoys watching his fear, but just as all seems hopeless, the wall behind them bursts open, filling the air with dust and debris, and Garo steps through with a calm and unshaken expression. The hero hunter's appearance sends dread through the monster, and before King the Ripper can react, Garo moves, and his hand cuts through air faster than sight, striking with a single, powerful, precise motion that decapitates the monster instantly. The body collapses before the head hits the floor, and this one-hit kill demonstrates Garo's evolved power since his last battle. Tereo stares in shock and disbelief, recognizing the man before him has changed from the one who once fought to protect him. Garo stands quietly over the fallen monster, radiating strength beyond human comprehension. And though the long struggle has changed him, saving Tereo reveals a flicker of remaining humanity. Throughout the association, monsters sense the disturbance in their catacombs, realizing someone more dangerous than any hero has invaded their territory. Gyoro watches through his psychic network with both awe and unease, witnessing the transformation he envisioned for Garo happening faster than expected. Garo takes Tereo by the arm and moves quickly through the dark tunnels, cutting down minor monsters that dare stand in their path. Tereo pleads with Garo to help rescue Wagama as well, showing concern even for the boy who earlier betrayed him to the monsters. Garo brushes off the suggestion, claiming he is not interested in playing hero and did not come back to save Tereo in the first place. These hollow words form a desperate attempt to deny the humanity still existing within him, though deep inside, he knows his decision to return was driven entirely by compassion, a kindness he refuses to admit, believing it to be a sign of weakness. They escape deeper into the catacombs, until they stumble across a terrifying presence towering over them, Overgrown Rover. A massive dog-like creature classified as a dragon-level threat. Garo realizes facing such a monster now would be suicide, and leads Tereo away slowly and quietly, keeping movements light enough not to draw the creature's attention. This caution nearly works, but before they can retreat fully, 3 mid-tier demon-level monsters appear in their path.
Recognizing Garo as the rogue hero hunter who betrayed the monster association,
they surround him with confident grins and move to attack, but Garo wastes no time meeting their assault head-on. The difference in power is overwhelming. His fists cut through the air faster than they can react, defeating all 3 without effort. The echoes of the battle, however,
draw the attention of Overgrown Rover. The monster enforcers vaporize instantly from a burst of heat from Overgrown Rover, leaving Garo and Tereo exposed. But they barely manage to get away as Garo breaks through a wall.
Every strike shakes the foundations of Z City, and even Saitama, relaxing in his apartment far above, feels the ground trembling, though curiosity only flickers across his face before he calmly decides to investigate later. Garo regains his footing, breathing heavily, and launches his strongest counterattack, a technique refined through years of combat, but the blow does nothing against the monster's thick hide.
Overgrown Rover retaliates with another heat blast that carves through the underground layers,
illuminating the caverns like molten glass. The beam leaves Garo broken and burned, forcing him to fall deeper into the abyss, until he reaches the lowest level of the Monster Association's lair, where Gyoro awaits. Gyoro greets him with a chilling smile, intrigued by his persistence. Garo barely manages to stand, glaring at the psychic monster, who engineered much of the world's chaos. He accuses Gyoro of sending subordinates to hunt him, but before he could move any closer, an invisible force grips his body, telekinetic power paralyzing him completely and pinning him to the ground. The monster remarks with pride that his psychic control surpasses even Tatsumaki, the powerful Esper ranked second among S-class heroes. Garo struggles against the overwhelming force, while Gyoro observes him like a scientist, studying a rare specimen, fascinated by his extraordinary evolution. The monster admits Garo's growth rate is faster and more intense than anything ever seen, believing that under proper guidance, he could surpass even the Monster King Orochi. Gyoro explains his research, centered on pushing beings beyond natural limits through repeated near-death experiences, having learned that survival through fatal trauma allows living organisms to evolve beyond biological boundaries. Most test subjects died, torn apart by the strain, but one survivor emerged, Orochi, once a human, now the most powerful monster alive. Garo is going through the same process, as each battle and near-fatal wounds only make him return stronger, pushing him closer to perfection. Gyoro says he envisions him as the ultimate life form, a weapon designed to destroy the world's heroes. Garo listens but refuses to bow, arrogance burning within him like fire, and breaks free from the telekinetic grip with pure strength, stunning Gyoro and rejects the offer to serve under anyone, declaring he will never become a puppet. He despises both heroes and monsters equally, refusing to stand alongside either, his resolve to shape his own destiny, driving defiance that makes Gyoro recognize the danger of letting him live. Realizing he cannot control Gyoro releases Orochi, and the next moment, the Monster King rises from the depths, his enormous body covered in writhing serpentine limbs as he towers over Gyoro, radiating overwhelming heat and killing intent. Knowing S-class heroes prepare to invade their territory, Gyoro retreats to conserve strength, leaving Orochi to finish the fight. Orochi attacks and strikes with devastating force, shaking the entire lair and sending shockwaves that reach the surface. Saitama feels the tremor once again but remains calm, wearing his hero costume while reading manga and quietly complaining about never finding worthy opponents strong enough to challenge him. He feels no urgency, unaware a clash capable of destroying the entire underground world takes place beneath his feet. Gyoro stands again, battered but not defeated, while Orochi takes his true form and turns to a multi-headed serpent with glowing eyes and fire between its jaws. The monster unleashes a beam of energy that scorches everything around them, burning through walls and creating an explosion lighting up the entire cavern. Gyoro watches from afar, satisfied that his experiment has entered its final stage. Despite the difference in power, Gyoro refuses to yield, leaping back into battle with movements faster than ever. Orochi mirrors his fighting stance perfectly, mimicking every motion as if mocking him, and the two collide in a violent storm of fists and claws. Each time Gyoro is thrown down, he rises again, hatred fueling his will to fight. Gyoro observes this struggle, realizing that the resistance only strengthens Gyoro further, the experiment working beyond expectation. Meanwhile, the Hero Association's top heroes remain in their so-called meeting, with their discussion about the infiltration of the Monster Association's stronghold dragging on. Using advanced satellite scans, Child Emperor confirms that more than 500 monsters are hiding in the massive network of tunnels below Z City, with many of them possessing strength on par with dragon-level threats like Elder Centipede, and some may even surpass it. The revelation creates unease among the heroes, and Flashy Flash points out that Orochi and Gyoro are confirmed dragon-level enemies. Zombie Man raises concerns about Drive Knight, whose disappearance after infiltrating the monster base remains unexplained. Plus, the possibility of internal betrayal and unknown dangers deepens the tension within the room. With characteristic arrogance, Tatsumaki mocks the others for overthinking and insisting she can single-handedly manage any threat. Flashy Flash takes offense at her careless attitude and argues that underestimating the enemy could cost lives, and their heated exchange adds more strain to the already tense meeting. Then, Sweet Mask enters the room with his usual sense of superiority. However, his sudden appearance irritates the other heroes, especially Flashy Flash, who dislikes his self-righteous tone. Sweet Mask expresses frustration over being excluded from the main assault and criticizes the association's decision to rely solely on S-class heroes for the primary operation. He claims that lower-ranked heroes like him are more reliable and disciplined, accusing the S-class of being unstable and reckless. Flashy Flash bristles at the insult, and the two glare at each other as the argument escalates, nearly breaking into a fight. However, the tension immediately dissolves just when King unexpectedly walks into the meeting. Association executives, still under the false impression that King is the strongest hero alive, immediately assume he has been battling monsters in Z City by himself. Sweet Mask, filled with respect for the supposed accomplishments of King, steps back and ends the confrontation. Child Emperor advises King to stay with the main strike team instead of acting independently, as they consider his presence vital to the morale of the operation. King nods nervously, hiding his panic behind a calm expression. Meanwhile, Sekengar and Sitch oversee the secondary teams composed of A, B, and C-class heroes who will serve as support units. Sitch later visits Bang, who arrives with his brother Bomb at the association headquarters to collect a replacement communicator after losing his previous one. During their conversation, Bang realizes the association suspects his loyalty after Gyoro escaped from his grasp in their last encounter, and the unspoken tension confirms that both he and Genos have been left out of the upcoming mission's roster. King, desperate to avoid exposure, wanders away from the main hall and accidentally enters the same room where Bang and Bomb are talking. Recognizing that both he and Bang have been sidelined, he quickly comes up with an excuse to distance himself from the main operation, and suggests forming a smaller, independent group with Saitama and Genos to infiltrate the monster base separately. The idea comforts him, as staying near Saitama guarantees his safety and helps him maintain the illusion of strength. Bang agrees to the plan, appreciating the opportunity to act on his own terms rather than following orders from the association, and they decide to regroup at Saitama's apartment later that day. The S-Class heroes finalize their strategies and prepare to depart for Z-City with a clear operational structure. They decide to spearhead the attack, while the lower-ranked heroes handle rescue and reconnaissance. The room empties as the top fighters depart for battle, unaware that the true danger lurking below exceeds anything they have prepared for. Far from the association's headquarters, Fubuki walks briskly through the streets, determination glowing in her eyes, and despite her sister's explicit order forbidding her participation, she refuses to be sidelined. She is resolved to prove herself as more than the younger sister of Tatsumaki and plans to rebuild her Blizzard group from scratch, and therefore, her destination is Saitama's apartment, where she intends to recruit him once again. At the same time, Genos travels toward the same place, freshly upgraded by Kuseno, and his new armor is packed with devastating firepower, but it comes with a critical limitation that his body can only sustain maximum output for 10 seconds before overheating and shutting down. The upgrade has turned him into a walking weapon, but one that could destroy itself if pushed too far. Fubuki and Genos cross paths outside the building and exchange updates about the plans of the Hero Association. Both get surprised to find Saitama's apartment empty and decide to wait for him, unaware that Bang and King are also on their way. Soon, the elderly brothers arrive and reveal their intention to enter the Monster Association's lair independently, forming a separate team that operates outside official orders. Genos immediately volunteers to join, eager to prove his worth and test his new enhancements. However, Fubuki hesitates but decides to accompany them, unwilling to sit out while the others take action. King also agrees to the plan reluctantly. However, the thought of entering the monster's nest terrifies him, but he hides his fear behind a calm facade. Without Saitama by his side, he feels exposed, knowing that his reputation as the strongest man on Earth is built entirely on misunderstanding. But he hopes that being near heroes like Bang and Genos will shield him from suspicion until Saitama returns. All the heroes gather in the ghost town, and Child Emperor asks where King is. But one of the heroes replies that King already said he would go inside ahead of them, so they should not worry. Child Emperor wonders why King did not tell him this directly, and wonders if King trusts him, and the support heroes all say they wanted to see King in action as well. Suddenly, dozens of monsters appear and surround them, and Sekingul warns that Garo set a trap for them, while Child Emperor estimates there are more than 150 monsters around them. And at the front is a monster called Evil Eye, who boasts that he heard the Hero Association sent its full force, but asks how so few came, and then Evil Eye shows off his psychic powers and lifts entire buildings. He explains that the eyes on his hands are taken from a monster the heroes once killed, and that Gyoro infused those monster essences into him, so he has grown far more powerful than before. Meanwhile, we see that Saitama is already underground, wandering through the tunnels of the Monster Association's lair, but he remains clueless about what's really going on. Evil Eye hurls the buildings at the heroes, but Tatsumaki erects a psychic barrier to protect everyone. But then, she deliberately drops the barrier partway, so debris hits the support group while she taunts them about why she should protect them, so Puri and Darkshine break the remaining rubble apart. While Sekingul asks why she did that, and Tatsumaki replies that if the support heroes cannot protect themselves from something this small, they should turn back now, and Sweet Mask agrees that support teams must be able to handle unexpected danger or they will become burdens rather than help. Evil Eye tries to provoke Tatsumaki further by claiming he knows about her sister Fubuki and threatens to pluck out both their eyes and put them on his hands, and Tatsumaki answers by whipping up a storm. Meanwhile, the Monster Association underlings launch a coordinated assault on the support group, but the heroes hold their ground and push back the monsters with surprising effectiveness and steady teamwork. Captain Mizuki charges headfirst through groups of monsters with overwhelming force, and her fearless fighting style draws clear admiration from Darkshine. Soon, after the first wave of monsters is eliminated without serious difficulty, the heroes regroup and brace themselves for the appearance of stronger threats. Then, the support group encounters a demon-level monster called Rhino Wrestler, a massive juggernaut who has a large reinforced unicorn that effortlessly deflects every incoming attack, and because of that, despite their combined efforts, none of the A-class heroes are able to penetrate his defense. Even Ion fails to inflict any damage, while Rhino Wrestler reflects how the hard obsessive training allowed him to rise from a tiger-level monster to a demon-level powerhouse. Just then, Atomic Samurai intervenes and orders Ion to retreat, and despite skepticism from those unfamiliar with his swordsmanship, he draws and sheaths his blade in a single instant, cutting Rhino Wrestler down so completely that the monster only realizes he has been slain moments later and curses Gyoro for misleading him into believing he could challenge an S-class hero. The remaining monsters recklessly charge Atomic Samurai, but are dispatched just as effortlessly, while across the battlefield, other S-class heroes also enter the fray to crush their respective opponents. Soon, the fighting settles, and the support group clearly sees the huge difference in power between the S-class heroes and everyone else. At the same time, Tatsumaki completely eradicates Evil Eye, while Child Emperor, wearing his advanced exo-armor, destroys a surveillance drone dispatched by Gyoro to observe the heroes and assess their combat capabilities, and this cuts off the Monster Association real-time flow of battlefield intelligence. Shortly afterward, several monsters who try to run away from the battle are dragged before Gyoro, and as punishment for their cowardice, he feeds them to Orochi while coldly warning the remaining monsters that if they do not want to die, they must go out and fight. It turns out that he has already decided which monster will face which hero, and declares with certainty that victory will belong to the Monster Association. Meanwhile, with the surface battlefield now under control, the main assault force made up mostly of S-class heroes prepares to advance into the underground base of the Monster Association, and it is revealed that Gyoro has intentionally held back his most dangerous dragon-level monsters for this phase, since up to this point, he has only sent weaker enemies to measure the hero's strength and expose their weaknesses, treating the entire battle as a calculated experiment rather than a true all-out war. At the same time, Saitama and the others enter the Monster Association base through different routes, while the support group left above ground anxiously discusses what dangers the attack team might face below, and as everything begins to move into its final stage, Gyoro watches the situation unfold with visible excitement. Flashy Flash checks his transmitter and recalls Child Emperor warning that the underground base is extremely vast, and that every hero must keep track of their own position since no one will be able to rescue them, and at that moment, several monsters surround him. They recognize him as the super-fast hero Flashy Flash, and claim they knew he would come this way, but are instantly killed by him, and he continues forward without hesitation. Soon after, Flashy Flash encounters Hellfire Flame and Gale Wind, and immediately attempts to defeat them as well, but they easily evade his attacks, and question whether that was his top speed. They accuse him of being responsible for the destruction of the 44th Ninja graduation class and openly declare that they intend to kill him for it. It is revealed that all three originate from the same secretive ninja village, where brutal training from early childhood granted them superhuman speed and combat ability, and while Galewind and Hellfire Flame graduated as members of the 37th class, Flashy Flash stands as the sole survivor of the 44th class after killing all of his fellow graduates. Flashy Flash and Hellfire Flame immediately engage in a sword fight while Galewind attacks using wire techniques and believes he can trap Flashy Flash like an insect, but Flashy Flash shatters the surrounding walls with his attacks, after which the two ninjas lead him into a much larger room, which they describe as the perfect place to fight freely, as all three begin moving at extreme speed and the battle intensifies. During the clash, Flashy Flash demands to know who hired them, and states that after destroying the Monster Association, he will personally visit that person, and Galewind claims it was a criminal named Skillfish, a major human trafficker, and questions whether Flashy Flash truly plans to fight his mafia army. Flashy Flash calmly responds that he already killed him, along with other criminals including several drug lords and bandits who once sent assassins after him, explaining that he simply does not talk about it. Galewind reacts with clear frustration and says they plan to kill those people themselves after dealing with Flashy Flash. But since that chance is gone, he declares that Flashy Flash must now die. Flashy Flash tells them to reveal their true powers, explaining that he already noticed they had transformed recently, and he challenges them to abandon all restraint and show their monstrous forms. They transform and reveal that they have risen from demon-level threats as humans to dragon-level threats as monsters. But even after gaining this power, Galewind and Hellfire Flame remain one step behind Flashy Flash, who repeatedly points out the clear gap in skill and experience between them. They realize that technique alone will not be enough to defeat him, and push their monstrous bodies to move at speeds beyond their normal limits, and this sudden burst of speed briefly catches Flashy Flash off guard. But he quickly regains control and overwhelms them with a relentless series of high-speed kicks that completely turns the fight back in his favor. To finish the battle cleanly, Flashy Flash unleashes a blindingly fast final slash that cuts both monsters in half at the same time, and remarks that Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame would have been extremely dangerous opponents for other S-Class heroes who could not match their speed. While Hellfire Flame lies dying, he reflects on the life of a ninja who lives and dies in the shadows, explaining that he and Gale Wind joined the Monster Association because they wanted to take control of their own fate for once. And then he asks what allowed Flashy Flash to surpass them, but he answers that he was just built different. It turns out that during the long battle, Flashy Flash has unknowingly lost his communicator, and at the same time elsewhere, Child Emperor continues leading the rescue and infiltration mission, believing that saving Narinko-san Wagama will reduce the burden on the other heroes and let them fight without distraction. Mistaking him for a harmless child, several monsters attempt to ambush him, but they are quickly defeated by the advanced drones and weapons that Child Emperor uses with careful precision. He continues to proceed further into the base, where he discovers the torn remains of Drive Knight and accesses the damaged mainframe to determine the exact location where Wagama is being held. Soon, Child Emperor reaches the prison holding Wagama, but is confronted by Phoenix Man, who underestimates him and wastes time taunting before launching a direct attack, but this proves to be a fatal miscalculation. Child Emperor blocks the strike effortlessly with an invisible barrier and counters using his specialized equipment, eliminating Phoenix Man with calculated efficiency. Afterward, Child Emperor releases poison gas to knock out the remaining guards and successfully rescues Wagama, but his escape is briefly stopped by Sludge Jellyfish, who is immune to normal attacks. But Child Emperor overcomes this by burning the creature to death, clearing the path forward. And as they flee, Child Emperor sends a remote-controlled tank ahead, which is instantly destroyed by Machine God G5. And this makes Child Emperor realize that normal attacks or a direct confrontation will not work against G5. So, planning accordingly, he deploys numerous robotic dogs that combine into a larger machine to keep G5 occupied. And using this diversion, he escapes with Wagama at his side, successfully completing the rescue while leaving the powerful machine monster behind. While desperately searching for an escape route with Wagama, they come across the remains of Phoenix Man, and Wagama immediately notices that the costume looks exactly like Donkin Bird, the mascot from the popular children's television show Animal Empire. In that show, Donkin Bird is a foolish character who dies in every episode and is then revived, which leads Child Emperor to suspect that the man who once played the mascot eventually became the monster, and this suspicion is instantly confirmed when Phoenix Man revives in a much stronger state, with his threat level rising to Dragon Class. It is then revealed that repeatedly playing Donkin Bird caused the man inside the costume to lose his sense of identity, and even after being fired, the character never left him, allowing feelings of resentment, regret, and helplessness to build up until he fully transformed into a monster. Child Emperor immediately seals Wagama inside a protective energy barrier and launches a direct assault. But Phoenix Man easily blocks every attack and destroys Child Emperor's defenses with little effort, clearly showing how much stronger he has become after reviving. Confident that he now stands above all others, Phoenix Man begins to boast. But Child Emperor reveals a final contingency he prepared in advance by activating a mechanism hidden deep underground for the worst-case scenario. The next second, enormous mechanical parts rise and assemble into Brave Giant, a massive combat mech that Child Emperor pilots himself, and the fight escalates into a large-scale battle. At first, Child Emperor gains the upper hand thanks to the raw power and versatility of the machine, but Phoenix Man quickly realizes that Brave Giant has strict energy limits and decides to drag the battle out until the mech runs out of power. Child Emperor relentlessly chases Phoenix Man and unleashes a wide variety of attacks in an effort to finish the battle quickly, while Phoenix Man avoids direct hits and deliberately forces him to burn through more of Brave Giant's power reserves. Phoenix Man then tries to pull Child Emperor's attention away by attacking Wagama, but he is suddenly caught by an electromagnetic trap that Child Emperor had set earlier, which creates an opening for Child Emperor to strike him with a powerful blow that nearly destroys him. Just then, Child Emperor detects a communicator signal belonging to Flashy Flash, moving on a lower underground level, and assumes the speedster hero is nearby, so he decides to shift the battlefield in hopes of coordinating an attack together. Instead, he finds the communicator abandoned on the ground, and before he can adjust to this realization, Phoenix Man revives yet again, this time transforming into his ultimate form known as Brilliant Eagle Mode, which grants him the terrifying ability to resurrect defeated monsters and command them as subordinates. Empowered once more, Phoenix Man releases the revived monsters to swarm Child Emperor, and then escapes while taking Wagama with him, forcing Child Emperor to fight while racing against his rapidly draining power supply and the urgent need to save the hostage. Still, while cornered on all sides and sustaining increasing damage, Child Emperor continues to resist and fights back with determination, but the situation is getting out of his hands. So disregarding safety restrictions and the accumulated strain on his body and machine, Child Emperor activates emergency modifications within Brave Giant and unleashes a final full-power energy beam to stop Phoenix Man's escape. Overconfident in his new strength, Phoenix Man chooses to withstand the attack head-on, but the beam tears through every underground level and erupts into the sky, reaching all the way to the stratosphere. The blast completely drains Brave Giant's remaining power and leaves Phoenix Man severely injured. But still, this final attempt of Child Emperor fails to stop the Phoenix Man, who somehow survives and destroys the mech. Phoenix Man then moves in to finish Child Emperor and end the fight, but just then, something unexpected occurs as a ticklebug drone that the young inventor deployed earlier slips inside his costume. Phoenix Man is immediately overwhelmed by an unbearable itching sensation that throws him into chaos, and in desperation, Phoenix Man tears apart his own costume trying to stop the torment, and this self-inflicted opening gives Child Emperor the exact chance he needs to activate his lethal apparatus and unleash a relentless barrage of concentrated attacks that finally brings Phoenix Man down for good. With the battle finished, Child Emperor sends a transmission to the other S-Class heroes, confirming that Wagama has been successfully rescued, and along with this report, he delivers a clear warning that the Monster Association should not be taken lightly, while Zombie Man's response implies that he himself is currently trapped in a serious and dangerous fight. While Child Emperor escorts Wagama toward the surface, he asks whether any other hostages were imprisoned with him, and Wagama deliberately lies by saying there were none, choosing to hide the fact that Tereo was also being held captive in the same underground area. Elsewhere, within the Monster Association base, Saitama runs into the ninja duo Gale Wind and Hellfire Flame, who were previously killed by Flashy Flash, but were revived through Phoenix Man's powers. But the two monsters are confused and disoriented as they realize they have returned to life without any clothing, while at the same time Saitama is equally confused by the scene and bluntly wonders why naked perverts are running around underground. Zombie Man keeps moving through the Monster Association base while defeating small monsters one by one, and although a tentacle monster pierces his arm, he calmly shoots it down and continues forward. Zombie Man reflects that he is not suited for flashy combat and prefers undercover-style work, and right then, more monsters attack him, but he eliminates them without hesitation. After walking further, Zombie Man comes across a large door and enters the room beyond it, where he encounters a bat hanging from the ceiling that speaks to him and reveals itself as a vampire, a demon-level monster, and he claims he has been waiting specifically for Zombie Man. Other monsters gather to watch the fight and openly hope that the vampire will be killed, which irritates him, while they mockingly say they will kill whoever survives the duel. The vampire asks if Zombie Man is an S-Class hero and tries to learn his name, but Zombie Man responds by firing his gun, only for the vampire to instantly appear behind him and bite his neck. The vampire drinks Zombie Man's blood but finds the taste unpleasant, and when everyone believes Zombie Man is dead, he suddenly stands back up, shocking both the vampire and the onlooking monsters. The vampire boasts that he is the only true monster in the Monster Association because his ancestors were vampires as well. However, instead of listening to his chatter, Zombie Man shoots him again, but the vampire casually catches the bullets and throws them back, seemingly killing Zombie Man once more. He demands applause from the onlookers, but he is shocked when Zombie Man stands back up, and the vampire asks how he is still alive, even though bullets passed through his head and his neck was bitten, wondering if Zombie Man is the so-called immortal hero, and mocks him as a fake human, just like the fake monsters around them. The regeneration ability of Zombie Man allows all his injuries to heal instantly, but it also condemns him to constant pain and exhaustion. And while the vampire praises this regeneration ability, the two immediately resume fighting. Zombie Man draws his blades but still cannot land a clean hit on him, and he kicks Zombie Man and twists his neck backward, yet Zombie Man fires a shot that strikes the vampire, causing another monster to laugh, only for the vampire to slice that monster in half and declare that regeneration is not unique to him as his own wounds have already healed. The vampire claims that regeneration has limits and vows to tear zombie men apart, then releases a swarm of bats that bite into him while he drinks the blood of nearby monsters to restore himself faster, but when he looks back, Zombie Man is still standing unharmed. Zombie Man calmly declares that it is time to end the fight and attacks the vampire with an axe. And after a brutal battle lasting nearly 30 minutes, the vampire is torn completely to pieces, and he asks how Zombieman can keep getting back up despite being killed so many times. To which Zombieman replies that the vampire defeated him 200 times while he only needed to win once. The surrounding monsters whisper in disbelief that the vampire has truly been defeated and ridicule him for his arrogance. And when they see how exhausted Zombieman has become, they cheer and assume he is trying to escape, shouting that they will kill him together. But they soon realize he is not fleeing and is instead calmly closing the door behind him, after which Zombie Man turns back and eliminates all of them as well. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Atomic Samurai's A-class apprentices confront the manipulative demon-level monster Princess, who is accompanied by Norinko's private guards that she has placed under mind control. The three swordsmen immediately engage them but quickly find themselves struggling against the combined pressure, and the three of them nearly fall into Princess's trap. But just then, Sweet Mask arrives and intervenes, and to their shock, the mind control ability of Princess has no effect on him. Sweet Mask orders the apprentices to withdraw while he handles the situation himself, and then he displays overwhelming physical strength and incapacitates Norinko's brainwashed soldiers in mere moments. Then, he turns his attention to Princess and reduces her to a helpless state, leading her to beg for mercy before he kills her without hesitation. Not long after, the apprentices witness Pig God swallowing a massive demon-level monster whole, a shocking sight that leaves a deep impression on them. Soon afterward, the platform beneath them is destroyed by a demon-level monster named Devil Hair, and they are forced down to a lower level of the Monster Association base. Devil Hair boasts the ability to weaponize his hair in many ways and proves difficult to fight, and as the battle continues, the three swordsmen struggle to gain the upper hand while being restrained by his hair-based attacks. While fighting, Ayin remembers Atomic Samurai's words about pushing their limit, and then the three warriors coordinate their movements and strike together, severing Devil Hair's weaponized hair in a single decisive attack and ending the battle almost instantly. Meanwhile, Atomic Samurai advances through the underground corridors and cuts down multiple monsters with effortless precision, and given his mastery of the blade, none of the enemies he encounters appear credible enough to seriously challenge him. After some time, Atomic Samurai encounters G5, who tries to fight him by analyzing and mimicking his techniques, but the moment the swordsman chooses to fight in earnest, G5 is swiftly destroyed within moments. Atomic Samurai continues forward, and suddenly notices the young boy Tereo, desperately trying to flee from a strange, goofy-looking monster known as Black S. So, without wasting any second, Atomic Samurai intervenes and positions himself between Tereo and the monster, preventing Black S from advancing any further. Because of Black S's harmless appearance, Atomic Samurai initially does not view him as a serious threat, and he calmly prepares to dispatch the monster as he has done with so many others, confident that the encounter will be brief and easily resolved. Meanwhile, after successfully escaping the underground, Child Emperor hands Wagama over to the support team and immediately attempts to contact the other S-class heroes to report that the rescue mission has succeeded. But when no response comes back at first, Child Emperor grows visibly concerned, since he has already witnessed firsthand how dangerous dragon-level monsters can be, and the silence suggests something may be wrong. Eventually, Zombie Man and Sweet Mask respond, which eases his concern to some extent, but that sense of relief is cut short when Atomic Samurai reports that another child is still trapped inside the Monster Association base. And this revelation causes Wagama to grow anxious, since he deliberately lied to Child Emperor earlier by claiming he was the only captive so that he would be rescued first. Faced with this information, Child Emperor immediately decides to return to the underground base to save Tereo, and although Sekengal and Wagama are confused and surprised by this decision, the support heroes recognize it as proof of Child Emperor's genuine heroism. They understand that being a hero is not about strictly following orders or completing a single objective, but about taking responsibility for every life that can still be saved. Meanwhile, underground, Black S reveals his true ability that he can divide endlessly like a living cell and create countless copies of himself, turning his body into an ever-growing army. On the other hand, Atomic Samurai, confident in his overwhelming swordsmanship, dismisses the monster as insignificant and begins cutting him down without concern, believing his usual slice and dice approach will be enough. However, each time he cuts Black S apart, more clones immediately take form around him, and the situation escalates faster than expected, as despite being only a single clone, one Black S copy lands a powerful punch that makes Atomic Samurai cough up blood, demonstrating that each individual clone possesses considerable strength. Moments later, the rest of the clones swarm him at once, overwhelming the Master Swordsman and beating him severely, revealing that Black S is far more dangerous than his appearance suggests. It turns out that Gyoro deliberately engineered this confrontation, knowing that the ideal counter to an elite swordsman is a monster that multiplies whenever it is cut apart, and now Atomic Samurai realizes that he made a serious error by underestimating his opponent. So, as a desperate measure to buy time, Atomic Samurai brings down the surrounding walls he previously sliced through, crushing the area around him in an attempt to bury the countless clones of Black S. Elsewhere, Puri continues his personal mission to rescue the boyfriends who were abducted from prison by the Monster Association, and after tearing through numerous minor monsters, he finally encounters a worthy opponent in Bakuma, an elephant-like monster that consumes other monsters to steal their abilities. He defeats Bakuma with ease, but then gets confronted by the horrifying sight of his former prisoner boyfriends transformed into monsters, along with the appearance of Nian, the dragon-class cat monster. Determined to reform his boyfriends and return them to their human selves, Puri chases after Nian but accidentally buries the monsterized prisoners beneath falling debris. And at the same time, Saitama continues moving deeper into the underground base. Meanwhile, Zombie Man is once again thrust into danger and is suddenly ambushed by Homeless Emperor, a human-appearing monster who unleashes devastating energy blasts that catch him completely off guard. These attacks would have killed most S-Class heroes outright, but Zombie Man's extreme regenerative abilities repeatedly pull him back from the brink of death, even as the damage slows his recovery. He fires at Homeless Emperor, but his gunfire proves useless against the dragon-class monster, since the floating energy spheres surrounding him instantly block every attack. Homeless Emperor calmly acknowledges Zombie Man's resilience, while Zombie Man is left with no choice but to question the source of his power while struggling to endure injuries that are now taking far longer than usual to heal. It is revealed that when Homeless Emperor was still an ordinary human, he was deeply wronged by his superior at work, who humiliated him by forcing him to dance naked at a new recruit welcome party and then had him fired under false accusations of sexual harassment, an event that completely destroyed his livelihood. Then, after losing his job and home, Homeless Emperor began living on a park bench, and rather than harboring resentment toward the individuals who ruined his life, he distanced himself from human society and gradually formed a connection with the vastness and beauty of nature. He immersed himself in the natural world, while human concerns and personal suffering began to feel trivial to him. But at the same time, he grew increasingly furious upon realizing how recklessly humanity had exploited, abused, and defiled nature for its own convenience. And this growing anger drove him toward a drastic decision, and believing there was no escape from the ugliness of human existence, Homeless Emperor resolved to end his own life. But just when he was prepared to do so, a being known as God appeared before him and granted him immense power in the form of floating energy spheres. And the God acknowledged the truth in Homeless Emperor's words while entrusting him with a divine purpose. Burdened with this perceived mission and convinced that he had been chosen, Homeless Emperor became fully committed to the idea that humanity itself was the source of corruption and must be destroyed. While Zombie Man listens to this explanation, he grows curious and asks about the true identity of this godlike being, but Homeless Emperor reacts with hostility and dismisses the question as arrogance. Homeless Emperor condemns Zombie Man for daring to question the existence of God and immediately resumes his assault, this time unleashing even more devastating attacks on the immortal hero. King arrives at the Monster Association base alongside Silver Fang, Bomb, and Fubuki, and as they move forward, King nervously thinks to himself that the place is enormous and terrifying, and it feels like a monster could appear at any moment, and he quietly wonders where Saitama is. Fubuki asks King if this place feels trivial to him since he is considered incredibly strong, but King responds honestly that it does not, explaining that someone even stronger than him might exist here, but they ignore this concern, and Fubuki suggests that they split up into two groups to cover more ground. Elsewhere, Saitama encounters more monsters, and the moment they see him, they begin shouting in alarm. And meanwhile, Pig God continues devouring monsters one after another, but then suddenly, Pig God himself is swallowed by a dragon-level monster named Gums, but moments later Pig God bursts out through his mouth and engages him in combat. At the same time, Insect God is relentlessly pounding Darkshine with a barrage of punches, yet Darkshine remains completely unmoved. Darkshine recalls that when they first met, Insect God claimed to possess the combined power of all insects, and Darkshine admits that he had been searching for an enemy like that. He explains that insect bodies are extremely efficient because they are composed entirely of muscle and never tire, which was the kind of perfect body he himself desired. However, after fighting Insect God, Darkshine concludes that he is not nearly as dangerous as expected and expresses disappointment, stating that his own body is far superior. Darkshine then declares that there are only 3 heroes who must never be angered: King, Tatsumaki, and himself, because when he becomes angry, his muscles act on their own. Insect God arrogantly responds by asking if Darkshine would like to see what happens when he is angered, boasting that even Garo, the hero hunter who defeated many heroes, was unable to defeat him. He claims his body is an unbreakable suit of armor and a living weapon, and threatens to tear Darkshine apart and feed him to insects. But before Insect God can land his attack, Darkshine strikes him with a single punch and instantly obliterates him. Meanwhile, Saitama finishes defeating the surrounding monsters, and soon encounters Rover, whom Saitama mistakes for a very large dog. Casually holding out a monster bone, Saitama calls out to Rover like a pet and offers it to him, asking him to lead the way to the biggest monster in the area, but Rover responds by firing a powerful energy blast at Saitama, which immediately irritates him, as Saitama dislikes being attacked without warning. Saitama deduces that maybe this is the monster that was making loud noises that he heard in his home. So he decides to teach it a lesson and throws a single punch at it, and the shockwave from that blow is so powerful that it can be heard by heroes across the battlefield. Nearby, Nyan secretly observes Saitama and cannot believe that Saitama defeated Rover with a single punch, and while hiding, he decides to launch a surprise attack by slashing at Saitama's head with his claws. However, the attack does not even leave a scratch, and Saitama casually remarks that first there was a dog, and now there is also a cat. Realizing how overwhelmingly powerful Saitama is, Nyan decides that his own survival is more important and immediately flees the area, leaving Saitama confused by the sudden retreat. Elsewhere, Gyoro senses the enormous explosion and concludes that Rover must have been defeated by a hero, and at that moment, Tatsumaki appears before him and bluntly asks whether he is the boss of the Monster Association. Gyoro calmly welcomes her, saying he expected that only Tatsumaki would be capable of reaching him, and introduces himself as the manager of the Monster Association and the architect of a future world ruled entirely by monsters. Tatsumaki responds by confirming that this makes him the leader, which prompts Gyoro to immediately attack her by telekinetically hurling enormous rocks in an attempt to crush her. Tatsumaki remains completely unharmed and mocks him by asking if that is all the strength he has, then effortlessly tears off one of his arms, using only a small fraction of her power, leaving Gyoro shocked that his psychic barrier was destroyed so easily. Enraged, Gyoro declares that he will reveal his true power and transforms into his real form, a grotesque body covered in countless eyes, claiming he is a superior esper to Tatsumaki. He then increases the gravity around her by 300 times to crush her, but Tatsumaki stands comfortably and sarcastically comments that it feels like a pleasant massage, even asking him to put more pressure on her sore shoulder. Gyoro pours every ounce of power into the attack, but Tatsumaki remains unaffected and violently twists and crushes his body into pulp, forcing him to admit that she is far stronger than expected and far beyond her younger sister Fubuki. He begs her to stop, saying such a cruel death is unnecessary, but Tatsumaki coldly replies that he is nothing more than a chunk of flesh that cannot feel pain, and declares she will expose his true form. Realizing he has been completely defeated, Gyoro desperately screams for Lord Orochi to save him, revealing that while he manages the Monster Association, the true boss is Monster King Orochi, whom he personally created and brainwashed to obey his orders. However, Orochi does not appear, and Gyoro panics as Tatsumaki suggests that Orochi may be busy fighting another hero and asks who will save him now. Gyoro tries to calm the situation and proposes talking peacefully, but Tatsumaki shows no intention of stopping and continues her assault. Elsewhere, Orochi stands face to face with Saitama, who casually comments that he has encountered naked men, a dog, a cat, and explaining that he only came down because the noise was disturbing his home above. but Orochi attacks him immediately, realizing the earlier shockwave was no ordinary explosion, and concluding that Saitama, who was not on the Monster Association's list, is actually a serious threat that must be eliminated at once. However, Saitama is completely unharmed and confused about why everyone keeps attacking him, and just then Orochi fires a massive energy blast, which Saitama avoids easily. Just then, Rover reappears alive, but when Orochi orders it to attack Saitama, Rover panics and flees in fear, and Saitama explains that he only punched Rover once and declares that he will use a normal punch on Orochi now. Orochi realizes he was the one who defeated Goketsu and Elder Centipede, so he becomes excited, calling Saitama the ultimate human and declaring him the perfect sacrifice for his rebirth. But Saitama interrupts, saying he is tired of monsters boasting, and reminds Orochi that just like others, he will also fall in one punch. Orochi attacks in rage, but Saitama destroys all his arms with one punch, running through another massive energy blast, and with a second punch tears Orochi's head off before he can react, calmly stating it was only a normal punch, as Orochi burns and collapses into the depths. Elsewhere, a sketch of God is briefly seen, and Garo lies unconscious in another chamber, and meanwhile, King is left alone after Silver Fang, Bomb, and Fubuki split up, so he decides to hide quietly, but just then, a figure resembling Wagama approaches him, asking for help. King refuses, and it turns out it was actually a monster. Thinking that King has seen through his disguise, the monster panics and returns to its true form. King's heart pounds even louder seeing this, and he freezes in terror, desperately wondering where Saitama is, and we see him casually walking away after defeating Orochi. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.